Hello, Rusty Shackleford. That's right. Hello, everyone. Let me know if you guys hear me all right. Just want to make sure that sound is going good. I got myself a new pair of headphones. This is a wire-based headphones, wire-connected headphones, so I'm pretty much done with wireless headphones. Hello, Rusty Shackleford. Hello, Joshua Alex George. Hello, Saintology. Hello, everyone. Hope we have a good Friday live stream. And yeah, let's have some fun. Let's see here. I've noticed while the far left creates more crazies, the far right has a higher degree of crazy. Yeah, one thing I will say is that when the far right gets violent, they get really violent. I think they have a bigger body count in terms of killing than the left-wingers do. When right-wingers get violent, I mean, you have Anders Breivik in Norway. You have Christchurch Massacre. You got some pretty serious killings. When lefties get violent, they tend to be more into destruction of property. At least that's what we have seen so far. Sound is fine. Okay, great. Yeah, I want to make sure that the sound is good. I got myself a new pair of headphones because for some strange reason, my wireless headphones decided to literally just break down. It's like the A25 or something, A20 headphones, wireless headphones. And I don't know why this happened, but a few weeks ago, yeah, the Astro A20, this is what I got. Astro A20 or A70 or whatever. A40, it's an Astro. It's a set of Astro headphones. A50, that's what I got. Astro A50. And a couple of weeks ago, before I was about to start a stream, I checked out my headphones. And damn, I mean, they just didn't want to work. They just didn't want to work. And I reset those damn things. I did a hard reboot on all of them and did a hard reboot on the headphones. And they just didn't want to work. And I reset the system. I unplugged it, plugged it back in, did hard reboots. And it just didn't want to work. And I said, huh. I paid how much money for these? Like $75 for these headphones. And it's just garbage. I said, I'm just going to go back to the old school ways of just regular headphones with the wire attached to it. I've never had issues. Never once have I had an issue with a set of headphones that connects to a headphone jack in order to work. Now, maybe a cat came around and bit the wire and it didn't work anymore, but that's not the fault of the headset. I'm talking about a headset that connects to a headset jack on a computer and just decides to die. I have never had that happen. Never. As long as the wire is good and it's connected to a functional outlet, it has worked. That has been my experience with headphones, old school headphones, every single time. And I got, you get yourself a $5 set of headphones from Korea, and they work just fine. And I got these today from GameStop. I went to GameStop today, and I got these ones. They got like this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu symbol. I don't know what company this is, but I connected it up, and it works just fine. I don't have to worry about it crashing. I don't have to worry about the battery dying, because that's happened also. I'll be doing a work on my computer, and battery's almost out. Got to charge it. It's like these stupid mouses they give you when you buy an Apple. Here's a wireless mouse. Got to recharge it every so often. It's just it's annoying. That depends. Does the Chinese Communist Party count as left or right? Excuse me, I'm not talking about some killings that happened in communist China. I'm talking about within the Western world, where we have this concept of right versus left, and within the Western paradigm of right and left, righties have butchered a lot of people. You look at, like I said, the big Norwegian massacre, and then you have the Christchurch massacre. They've done some pretty horrendous killings. The right is not innocent. In fact, I'm glad that I'm glad that Rusty brought this up, because this is actually what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. One of the subjects that I wanted to address to you guys today is the incitement that has been done on both sides by both factions, left and right, in this country. The problem is that both sides want to act like they're innocent. The lefties want to act like they're innocent, like they've never done any incitement. The righties are all crazy. They're the violent ones. And then the right-wingers want to come along and say, these communists, they're the violent people, and we've never done any sort of incitement. No, we're just good Christian folk. And the reality is that they have both done horrendous examples of incitement. Both of them have done it. And I'm going to give you guys some examples. Now, when it comes to left-wing incitement, I think we all have heard them. For example, calling Trump Hitler, or referring to the police as if the American police force is just evil and it's corrupt and it's all just, it's racist and it's part of this system of systemic and systematic racism and it's evil and blah, blah, blah. That was incitement. And then you had people rioting and they were attacking police vehicles and they were attacking police property. And I remember in one case, they attacked a police precinct. This is all just incitement, right? Now, Goose Hunter wants to know if we will be doing musical recommendations. Yes, we will be doing musical recommendations unless something crazy happens. Going back to what I was saying. Zdravo. The right is very prone to a sort of jihadism, yes. But that's not to say that the left isn't either. I think all ideological groups are prone to a sort of political jihad. Have I ever read the book, The Fourth Turning? No. What is it about? Is it about history going in cycles? If it is, then I'll buy it. I'm very interested in that topic. Very interested in that topic. But when you have the lefties talking about how the police are blah, and George Floyd was murdered because the police force is evil, or that the police force is systemically evil or racist, that's incitement. You're getting people to hate on the police. I remember there was a case back in Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland. I think this was back in 2000 and what was this, 15, 16, one of those years. I think it was 14 or 15. There were these horrendous riots that happened back in Baltimore, I remember, because somebody was killed by a police officer. Well, it turned out that the guy who was killed by the police officer deserved to be killed by the police officer. I think his name was his name. I think his name was Michael Brown. Was that? No, that was in Missouri. Baltimore riots. When was this again? Baltimore riots. 2016 Baltimore riots. Or sorry, 2015. I was right. 2015 Baltimore riots. It was a guy named Freddie Gray, 25-year-old African American, who was killed while he was in a police vehicle, and he went into a coma. Okay, so he wasn't really shot by the cops. I was confusing this story with a different story, but it caused riots, and there was a lot of incitement that went on because the cops were found innocent. And I remember there was this bishop. He was the Bishop of Baltimore, and he came out and he said, "What happened was a grave injustice." And it's like, you're in the middle of a riot. You're telling the rioters that what they're protesting against was a grave injustice, and you're inciting these rioters. That's what you're doing. You're inciting these rioters. So there's a lot of weirdness that goes on amongst the lefties. Another example of incitement was the conspiracy that Trump was in cahoots with the Russians. And what that implied was that Trump is not really the legitimate president because, well, he worked with the Russians. Right? He's in collusion with the Russians. So if Trump wins the election, because they were saying this before he won the first time, before he won back in the 2016 election, they were saying that, well, he's in collusion with Russia, implying that if he won the election, and he did, that his election would not be legitimate because he campaigned while in collusion with a foreign enemy. And all that was incitement. It was trying to show that Trump was a traitor and he was a treasonist and all this stuff. Now, all this is incitement, right? And also calling Trump Hitler. Now, calling Trump Hitler was just whatever. I mean, the thing is that, you see, Hitler, he is a part of American mythology. And what do I mean by that? Well, in every mythology, you have a foundation myth, right? The founding of a nation. And in a sense, the story of World War II really is a part of the story of America's founding as it is. I shouldn't call it a mythology because it's history. History is reality. And so Hitler, in a way, is Satan. So anytime you want to paint someone as evil, you just say, well, they're like Hitler. Mr. Evac, no, you're not blocked. We can see you. So every time you want to paint someone as evil, you just say they're Hitler. But the thing is that Hitler killed tens of millions of people. His regime, himself, the Third Reich killed tens of millions of people. So this idea of just calling people Hitler willy-nilly is, to me, ridiculous and should not really be done, because when you speak about something that's evil and egregious so much, what eventually happens is that evil becomes seen as not as bad, or people begin to make light of it. And people stop really caring about it. And that's the problem. When you throw something around so much, it loses its value. When you rarely talk about something that's very serious, then in a way you maintain its integrity. You maintain the gravity of its evil, the weight of its evil. So when everyone is Hitler, well, then you're just making light of it. If Trump is Hitler, or if Obama is Hitler, or if Hillary Clinton is Hitler, I mean, people just stop really caring about the seriousness of Hitler, because the seriousness of Hitler is that he butchered millions upon millions of people. And so if we just keep repeating everyone's Hitler when they're not really Hitler, then we just make light of the weight of what Hitler did, the weight of the evil that Hitler did. And so Trump gets called Hitler. And when Trump got shot, there were people online saying, well, if you call somebody Hitler long enough, then damn, you're going to maybe incite violence against them. Or if you call someone Hitler long enough, don't be surprised if somebody tries to shoot him, implying that the accusations of of Trump being Hitler is incitement. And I would say that's a fair point, right? If you continuously say, oh, goodness, Trump is Hitler, well, what did Hitler do? Hitler killed millions of people. So why would we want a guy who's like Hitler ruling over us? And then by saying that, then you could provoke someone to do some sort of political violence. Now, I would say that's a fair and legitimate observation. But here's the thing, is that when Obama was president, and even before Obama was president, there were people saying that Obama was Hitler. Yeah, I remember. It's back in the early 2000s. There were people saying that Obama's like Hitler, and he's going to form his own Hitler Youth, and he is a communist, and he's like Stalin. But which one is it? Is he Hitler or Stalin? Which part of the political coin is he a part of? So if calling Trump Hitler is incitement, then that means that the right wing is also guilty of incitement, because they were saying that Obama is Hitler. They were saying that Obama is Stalin. They were saying that Obama was going to bring Sharia law, that he created. I remember Trump said that Obama created ISIS. Remember that one? That Obama created ISIS, and that he was somehow part of the creation of ISIS, associating Obama with the atrocities that ISIS was committing. Well, that's also, by the logic of the people who say that the left calling Trump Hitler are doing incitement, the right also did incitement by making those accusations against Obama. Now, today, you have people who have been calling Biden a communist. Remember that? How long have they been calling Biden a communist? Say, Biden is a communist. Biden is a communist. Biden is a communist. Well, what did the communists do? Were not the communists mass murderers? So by saying Biden is a communist, you're associating him with mass murder. Mass murder, stealing property, the mass murder committed by the Bolsheviks and the Khmer Rouge and Mao Zedong. So that's also incitement. So if someone really believes, and Biden is not a communist, by the way. Just like Trump is not Hitler, Biden is not a communist. He's not. Biden's not a communist. He's a capitalist. This man is a capitalist. His son was with Burisma, big Ukrainian energy company. I mean, these are capitalists. So by that logic, the right has committed incitement against Biden. Not only that, but Trump, and I'm going to read to you guys some stuff from both sides here. Well, mainly from the right. Really, just from the right. I'm just going to say it, or a little bit from the left. We'll do both. So, for example, Marjorie Taylor Greene has said that Nancy Pelosi is guilty of treason, and that Nancy Pelosi deserves to be executed. Yep, Marjorie Taylor Greene said this. You can look into this. She said that Nancy Pelosi is a treasonist and that she deserves to be killed. Huh. Well, that's incitement. And when somebody broke into Pelosi's house and attacked her husband with a hammer, the right wasn't saying, hey, guys, political violence is wrong. Let's lower the temperature down. They were making fun of Pelosi. And I believe Trump's son went onto Twitter and he showed a picture of a hammer. And he said, look, I got my Pelosi, whatever, Halloween costume on. Donald Trump called Joe Biden an enemy of the state. That's incitement. And Donald Trump went on to say that the U.S. is being taken over by communists. That's incitement. Here's another example. Just hours after federal, and this is from Mother Jones, just hours after federal agents entered Mar-a-Lago to seize highly classified national security documents, Paul Gosar urged Paul Gosar, Republican Representative Paul Gosar, urged a fight to the finish, saying, quote, the FBI raid on Trump's home tells us one thing. Failure is not an option. We must destroy the FBI. And then, 3 days later, a man in Ohio named Rick Schiffer, he put on tactical gear, he armed himself with an AR-15, and then he went to the FBI field office in Cincinnati, and then he got into a shootout with law enforcement. Well, if you're telling people that the FBI must be destroyed, don't be surprised if somebody wants to shoot up an FBI office. Just like what the Republicans said, if you've been calling Trump Hitler for years, don't be surprised if somebody tries to kill Hitler. So they both do it. I'm not excusing what the left does. Not excusing it at all. I think it's evil what this shooter did. I hate this piece of shit. An innocent man was killed. A fireman was killed. It's evil. Now, you see this guy, what's his name? Stephen Bonnell. He's a big left-winger. He came out and said, I don't give a shit about this guy and blah, blah, blah. And this is the problem, is that no sides really want to take any sort of initiative to say everyone needs to calm down. I mean, granted, in all fairness, there have been people who have said, hey, let's lower the temperature down. But I think beyond that, beyond the main figureheads, beyond a number of the main figureheads on both sides, there is a lot of acrimonious discussion in the public sphere of dialogue, meaning social media. And that discussion has been, like I said, acrimonious, insightful, violent, vicious, vitriolic, and any other word that fits into their ilk. And that's the problem. That is the problem. Because righties have done it. It is so true. January 6th, that was political violence. That was political violence. And what happened with January 6th? How many righties came out and said, this is not good? I went onto YouTube after that event and I said, guys, do not think that this is good. It's not. It's only going to lead to worse things. Violence is usually something that leads to more violence. Bottom line. It leads to more violence. That's the problem. And I remember when the Christchurch massacre happened, and you had this guy go into a mosque, and he live streamed himself mowing people down and laughing about it. It was really horrific. I wouldn't recommend anyone to see the video. Yeah. It was horrific. And what happened, well, you had Milo coming along and saying, well, this is the left's fault. This is the left's fault because they promoted mass immigration. What? This is this guy's fault. He decided to commit mass murder, but they want to, and the right loves to do this, they want to flip the script and say, well, it's the left's fault. The left did this. Blah, 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 blah. And there was no talk of all of the right-wing incitement that was going on online at the time, and is still going on, I should say. And the shooter, he had all of the way of talking that you see online. All right, boys, we got this. Come on, lads. I mean, he's speaking like a Redditor. Not a Redditor. Like a guy from 4chan. He's speaking like a 4chaner. Come on, boys. And he's live streaming it. He thinks it's great. And the most terrific thing that I saw in that video was a woman begging for help, and this guy just shoots her. Executes her right on the floor. It was just, I don't care if those people were Muslim. That was just plainly evil. Plainly evil. But I didn't see a lot of condemnation on the right online. I saw a lot of blaming the left. I didn't see a lot of condemnation saying, hey, let's bring the rhetoric down. Because what has been the rhetoric in regards to immigration? What has been the rhetoric? The rhetoric has been that we are being invaded by immigrants. It's an invasion. Well, when you tell people that you're being invaded, what is an invasion? An invasion is when a foreign army enters your country with the purpose of taking territory, pillaging, looting, that sort of stuff. When you tell people that the migrants are not immigrating, that they are invading your land, well, what do you do to invaders? You act violently towards invaders. That's how you treat invaders. So when an invading army is coming into your town, you fight back, right? Just like if Hitler is ruling your country, what do? Well, a political revolution does sound appropriate. That's why the conservatives say when you call Trump Hitler, it's incitement. Well, if you call immigrants or migrants invaders, I mean, you shouldn't be surprised if someone acts violently towards immigrants. But there was no talk about the problem with the right-wing rhetoric. There was a lot of blaming against the left. So the problem also is that the conservatives, they always want to act like they're innocent. Like, oh, the left is incitement. Well, and then you ask them, well, give me an example of left-wing incitement. They say, well, calling Trump Hitler. Okay, fine. But then you have to agree that calling Biden a communist is also incitement. Calling Biden treasonist is incitement. Calling Pelosi treasonist is incitement. All these things are incitement. All of it. It's all incitement. They both do it, guys. I mean, here's an example that I want to show you guys. The head of the Heritage Foundation has talked about how there's going to be a revolution. And he talked about this 2 weeks ago, before the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And look what he said here. This is the head of the Heritage Foundation. Heritage Foundation is probably the biggest conservative think tank in the country. And I'll show you guys these lines here. This is from MSNBC. And this happened 2 weeks before the assassination. But there's no one... Nobody's saying that, nobody on the right at least, are saying that, well, this is right-wing incitement. Look, guys, this is crazy. Look what it says here. Heritage Foundation president raises alarm with cryptic threat. Heritage Foundation has presented itself as the right's premier think tank, but that only tells part of the story. The organization has also been a key piece of the right's broader political infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. And this is what this guy said. His name is... I wish they would give this guy's name. Anyway, the head of the Heritage Foundation, he said, Kevin Roberts. That's his name, Kevin Roberts. He said, "We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be." Well, that's a violent threat. That's incitement. In other words, we're going to go into a civil war if the lefties try to impede whatever it is we want to do. Do you see what I'm saying here? That's incitement. And this happened before the Trump assassination attempt. But I didn't see anybody on the right condemning this like, hey, bring down the language. You're calling for revolution, and you're saying, well, if the left goes against us, then we're going to get violent. And that's, here's the thing about these people that I don't like, is that they don't think about the impact of what they're saying. They don't think about the impact of their words, and they don't really think about the future. They just think about the present. Maybe they think in terms of a few months from now, but they don't think in terms of the greater impact of what would happen if what they say takes place. So, for example, if you have a bloody revolution in America, you'll have a civil war. And if you have a civil war in this country, millions will die. Millions of people will die in this country. What does a civil war bring? Let's see. A civil war would impede horrendously the supply chains. So people would be left without food. So you would have starvation. Civil war would impede plumbing work. So you would have a lack of water filtration because a civil war could, destroy a water plant, could destroy filtration plants, and then maintenance workers would not be able to repair those plants. So that would lead to toxicity in the water. People would die from that. Hospitals would close down. Electrical power grids would go down because of damage and destruction from war. People would be without power. Hospitals would be without power. So people in hospitals would be left out to dry. People with diseases would not be able to get the medical care that they would need in such a situation. So you would have starvation, disease, terrible water, or no water. So you would have dehydration in that case. It would be hell. Complete hell. So you have some issues with the country. That's fine. But your solution is what? To do something that would lead to the deaths of millions. And lead to an impact that would have a ripple effect that would be felt for decades. At least decades. That is insane. And it's evil. It really is evil. To sit there and push for something that would lead to the deaths of millions is absolutely evil. Mr. Evac, please, you're really just... you're really just being contrarian to everybody on the whole chat. It's like, this guy says something, who cares about Kosovo? This guy says something else. This is why I had to silence you last time. I think this is what you want, though. I think this is what you want. It's like somebody says something about Serbia. He's immediately on the attack. He can't control himself. As a Serbian, I'd like to hear your opinion on Kosovo. Albania is being constantly blocked on their way to the EU, while Kosovo is in a yes, no, maybe so limbo. What can Serbians do? I have no idea, I'll be honest with you. In terms of what, though? What can they do in terms of what? Albania is being constantly blocked. Albania is being blocked because Albania is a super corrupt country. While Kosovo is in a yes, no, maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. What can Serbians do? Serbians in Serbia or Serbians in Kosovo? Mr. Evac, would you like to have a discussion on... I know you said Discord. Because last time you asked if I wanted to have a conversation with you on Discord, and I said, well, I've already responded to everything that you wrote in chat, so I didn't really want to be redundant. But instead of me responding to your lines on chat, how about you and I have a conversation where we can speak and I can see your face and we can talk? I really hate how many right-wing people think civil conflict would be quick and easy. I completely agree. I think it's just completely insane. Mr. Evac. I mean, Goose Hunter said something. You were giving him shit for it. What was your question, Mr. Goose Hunter? Hello, Theo. Hello to all decent people. It's time for theological conversation about politics, future. That's right. Are you planning any music recommendations? Okay, I already answered that question. Did you hear about today's Microsoft outage, which caused a huge chaos among tourists in there? Actually, I did not hear about that, no. I was reading up on stuff that's happening in Ukraine, Russia. I've been reading more of the Bible, to be honest with you. Maybe in their time, Theo, but thanks for the offer. Okay, so he doesn't want to have a conversation. He just wants to come in and provoke. Okay. I get you. I understand you. Oh, I love it. Oh, what a bunch of garbage. All right. Anyway, mystery evacuation. He's evacuating. All right. Yeah, with the righties, everything is just, well, we're gonna have a civil war, and I heard people saying things like, well, if Trump was killed, then we would have a civil war, and I've heard this so many times on Twitter. Well, if Trump didn't tilt his head 5 centimeters the other direction, then the bullet would have hit his skull, and we. Do you see what I'm saying? Are you saying that you people are so peaceful? That you're so peaceful that if your guy gets killed, your response is violence? I mean, come on. That's your response. Well, our guy died, so now we're going to do a civil war. Here's what I really feel. I watched not all of it because it was so dragged on, but I watched Mr. Trump's speech last night. His RNC speech. And I will say that the whole thing felt fake. That's my opinion. I think the whole thing felt fake. The whole thing felt like theatrics. It felt cultic or cultish, I should say, because it was just, oh my God, here comes the man with the ear bandage, Here comes the man. And I knew he was going to do that. And I called it before he even did it. Remember I told you guys the day he got shot? I said he's going to come out with a big old bandage on his ear, and he's going to be playing that. He's going to be using that prop like it's in a movie. That ear, the ear that the whole world saw. And so there's a martyrdom thing going on right now, right? In the cult of personality for Trump. There's a martyrdom thing going on. And when they saw Trump, they saw him as this prevailing hero. He prevailed over his enemies. He survived the assassination attempt. So there was just this energy. I mean, you could feel it watching the speech. There was this energy in the air, but the energy was not based on reality, in my opinion. The energy is based on this idea that I don't know, Satan is after Trump and God saved him, and it's very religious. And I will say that the speech from Donald Trump was by far the most religious speech I've ever heard from a candidate. And I will say that is very surprising because American political speeches tend not to be that religious. They'll say, God bless America, something like that. But Trump was just bringing up the name of God over and over again. Because at this point, you see, politics in America has changed tremendously. I mean, we all know this, right? Politics in America has changed tremendously. And we are way more polarized than we were at the time of Ronald Reagan. Much more polarized. So now it's not even just about politics. There's a religious aspect in it because a lot of people see themselves as in a war between good and evil. And in a way they are. I'm not going to sit here and dismiss their feelings. I'm not going to do that. Because you have the left pushing this trans insanity, and then you have them pushing abortion, and both of these things are evil. And so the conservatives are pushing against these things. It's quite amazing. And so the conservatives are making the rhetoric more religious because the left has become more extreme. And so as the left becomes more extreme, more and more people are really going against the left. More and more people are really, really becoming more and more distant from the left, distant from friendliness with the other side. And so this has taken on a religious component. It's a war between good and evil. It's a war between good and evil. And so people are becoming, I think religion, and I've said this before, I think religion is making a comeback in this country. I think religion is making a comeback. Do you see? I think religion is making a comeback in this country. And you see it. And I think what's helping to drive this comeback to religion is the insanity of the left growing, becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and becoming more intense. And as the insanity of the left grows, the right will become more extreme. In some ways good, in some ways bad. Now, if the right can just become more religious, that's fine. Religion is great. We need religion for society. But if the right is going to become more radical in the sense that it's going to become racist, that's where you're going to have problems, serious problems, because then it's no longer just a religious problem. Then they start making everything racial, and then we start getting into discussions about whether blacks can be American. I mean, it's complete insanity at that point. Complete insanity at that point. But that speech, I mean, I've never heard religion more referenced in a political speech than when I saw Trump's speech last night at the RNC. Very religious. It was almost like a sermon. Now, you could say, well, he almost was killed, and that's a fair point. Absolutely, it's a fair point. But I do think that it does reflect this growing religiosity in the United States. I think more and more young people are getting into religion from what I have read. And at the same time, though, the cult of personality that Trump radiates really shined in the RNC speech. Really shined. It really shined in the RNC speech, and it just felt, like I said, cultish. It felt very cultish because you could feel the energy watching that speech, and if you could tell the people there, they were just googly-eyed, they were glossy-eyed, and they were really revering this guy. It was a little bit creepy. I'm not gonna lie. I would say it was more cringe than anything else. You know what I mean? I think it was more cringe than creepy. You had Kid Rock going up there and doing he was doing some kind of a Rage Against the Machine type song, and it was cringe. I'm not gonna lie. To see boomers just raising their hands for Kid Rock, I think was pretty cringe. I think they were probably better off bringing 50 Cent to rap Many Men. I think that would have been a much better and more fitting performance. And then Donald Trump gets up there and he goes on for an hour and a half. And in some parts he was pretty good, and in some parts he was rambling. He was going off about how we're gonna find cures for Alzheimer's and diabetes. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. I mean, it was just so aimless. It felt very aimless. It didn't look like he. I think he prepared for his speech, but I don't think he prepared for that much of an extent of a speech. But it's definitely a cult of personality, and you could feel it you could feel it in the air. People are becoming much more devoted to Donald Trump. And again, positive things have come from this. Not being devoted to Trump, but people being fans of Trump. Positive things have come from that. The overturning of Roe v. Wade, I think, was a great thing that happened, and that was thanks to Trump's administration. And then you have the continual radicalization. You know, and the right is getting more radicalized in this country. They are. And I think that things like racism are becoming more and more common. You can definitely see it online. You definitely see it all over Twitter. You can see it. It's very, very clear. Anti-Semitism is becoming more and more obvious and much more accepted. That's not Trump's fault. Trump is a big Zionist. But what I will say is that the nationalism in this country is definitely reflected in the popularity for Donald Trump. And that failed assassination just made his fan base even more energetic. If anything, that was not an attempt to kill Trump. That was an attempt to revitalize his campaign, or to further energize his campaign. The mugshot was one thing, but that shot to the ear, icing on the cake. This guy's going to win. I truly believe it. This guy's truly going to win. But again, as both sides get more radical, both sides are going to be more polarized. And so as people get more and more polarized, eventually something's got to give. And I fear for this country tremendously. I do. I really fear for this country. I fear for the fate of this nation. I really do. Because you have an attempted assassination on Trump, and the left is saying F him and F the firefighter. You have right-wingers talking about doing a revolution, and that revolution, or this revolution being bloody if the left gets in our way. And the right is not even blinking. Not even blinking. Do you know what civil war is? Guys, if you want to know what civil war is, all of the footage from the Syrian civil war can be watched online. All of it. You can watch all the footage from the Syrian civil war that broke out over 10 years ago online. And what do you see? Pits full of dead bodies, mass executions, cannibalism, poverty, hundreds of thousands of people dead because of civil war. Read about the Lebanese civil war that happened in the 80s. Sabra and Shatila massacre, when the Lebanese phalangists went into the Palestinian refugee camps and butchered people for 3 days. Raped, butchered, pillaged. Read about the Damour massacre, when the Palestinians, and this was before the massacre that happened against the Palestinians, but the Palestinians went to the Maronite village of Damour and they butchered people. They butchered most of the people in that village after the phalangists failed to defeat the Palestinians in a gun battle. You look at the Sudanese civil war, the South Sudanese civil war that happened, that broke out back in 2011. That was a horrendous civil war. Look at the civil war that's been ongoing in Sudan, in northern Sudan, what we call northern Sudan, just Sudan. But I'm saying northern Sudan to distinguish it from South Sudan because they're two different countries. Look at the civil war that's been ongoing in North Sudan. I mean, it's a complete nightmare. Why is civil war seen as something that's cool? If you think civil war is cool, you're either a complete moron or you're evil or you're both. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. It's so sickening, guys. I mean, I really hate this rhetoric. Oh, well, but we can do civil war. Let's just do a civil war. I gotta still do civil war. And I said that I've been saying this for years. I've been saying this for years, guys. It's insane. Destiny is helping Trump. He is, absolutely. All of the negative statements made about Trump and all of the statements about indifference to what happened to Trump and what happened to that poor fireman, all of that is helping Donald Trump. All of it is. And maybe they're doing that on purpose. Maybe they want to help Trump. Maybe they want Trump to be... Have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought that maybe the Democrats want Trump to win? I think so. I think at least some of them want Trump to win. Why is that? Why would Democrats want Trump to win? Think about it. Imagine if the Democrats won every single presidential election. What would all these Democrat writers complain about? They can't complain about the Republicans. They would have to complain about their own party. Well, that's no fun. You need to keep this constant state of polarization in the country because there's big business in that. There's an industry. There's a whole industry that benefits in polarization. There's people making big freaking money out of people hating each other. Just walk into Barnes & Noble. Walk into the political book section. What do you see? Trump, Democrat, Trump, Republican. Hell, the last time I went to Barnes & Noble, do you know what I saw? I couldn't believe what I was saying. I saw a book in Barnes & Noble about why the 2020 election was a fraud. Yeah, this is in liberal Barnes & Noble. They are selling a book promoting the narrative, promoting one of the most polarizing, one of the most divisive narratives in America, and that is the 2020 election. That the 2020 election was fraudulent. You see this in Barnes & Noble. There's mad money to be made. You look at Prager University. You look at Daily Wire. I mean, how much money these groups are worth. If you combine them all together, you're at least getting into the hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, you're talking big ass money. Big money. all these big organizations, Heritage Foundation, all these big organizations, you put all their money together, what they're worth, at least hundreds of millions, if not billions. I mean, you're talking big ass money. And what promotes them? What fuels them? What incentivizes people to donate money to them? It's the fear of the left, and the fear of the left winning, and the fear of the liberals taking over the country. And it's the same thing with the other side. What gets the liberals to donate money to Democrat organizations and buy books written by Democrat political analysts and read articles written by the left or written by progressives? All of it is refreshened. All of this is maintained and energized by a fear of the right. So there is mad money to be made. And so if Biden wins, or if a Democrat wins, and you have just Democrat victories, what would eventually happen, realistically speaking, is if Democrats kept winning, the Democrat Party would split. It's actually not healthy for the Democrats to be constantly winning, if you think about it, because if the Democrats just kept winning, there would eventually be a split. You would have a splinter form from the Democrat Party, because if everyone just keeps winning for some reason, because you have, think about it, you have ideological division within the Democrat Party, right? You have the more neoliberal Democrat, but then you have the more progressive Democrat, or you have the more socialist Democrat. There's divisions in the Democrat Party. Well, I got this Iranian music playing in the back. Good grief. If the Democrats continue to win, and it's the mainstream Democrats that are dominating, the neoliberal, well, then the socialist Democrats, or the other factions within the Democrat Party, will form their own party to try to beat the mainstream guys, or try to kick them out of the party, or try to dominate them. And so even if you have a singular party just winning all the time, eventually that singular party would split, because within a singular party you have factions. And if one faction is the one that's always winning, then in a way, I mean, not in a way, you would have the formation of different parties. Just inevitable. This is just how humans are. This is how our sinful human society operates. But imagine if the Democrats didn't have a Republican enemy. They would have to fight each other. That's what would happen. They would fight each other. So it's actually beneficial that Democrats lose. It is. It's beneficial that Democrats lose. It gives them 4 years to plan, at least 4 years to remarket themselves, refresh themselves, cut off any sort of fat that needs to be gotten rid of, clean their image, find new blood, find more recruits, find a new face. All that stuff is very important, because that's part of adapting, because as society changes, political parties have to adapt. It's the same thing with media. It's the same thing with films, artwork, everything. Artists, people involved in in anything cultural or political have to constantly change, and they find themselves constantly having to adapt to the vicissitudes of human society. So it's actually beneficial that the Republicans win. There's a benefit. There's always a win-win, right? If we win, then okay, we win. But hey, sometimes we got to lose. So if we lose, it's a positive. It's like that scene from Braveheart when Richard the Longshanks, he says, "As king, you must see the good in everything." So there's that. And it is, like I said, it's beneficial for the Democrats to lose. But if they're going to lose, they're going to make sure that the guy who loses is someone that they don't care about anymore. And that someone is Biden, Joe Biden. He's 81 years old. He's going to die any day. He is physically not well. He is not fully functioning. His cognitive abilities are not fully intact. And so the Democrats are saying, this is my belief, the Democrats are saying, well, let the Republicans win. We know that a lot of people don't like us. We know that a lot of people are frustrated with the Democrat Party. We know that Trump is rising in popularity. Why would we have a popular face of the Democrat Party? Why would we have a fresh politician who can become very popular run for president right now and lose and then taint his image as someone who lost. Have someone who is already old and dying and decrepit and senile, have that guy lose. And have you noticed the media all the time is saying that the Democrats want Biden to leave? Have you noticed that? I saw this in the New York Times earlier today. Democrats are pushing Biden to leave. Why is that? Because the Democrats know that Biden is going to lose, or they at least suspect that he is likely going to lose. And so they know that he's going to lose. So when he loses, they can say, well, we wanted him to leave. It's not our fault. It's not the party's fault. It's this arrogant old man's fault. He should have left. That's what they're going to say. That's if Biden actually continues to run in the race. And that's it. That's it. I don't really want to talk too much about this because it's a very fleeting phenomena in human society. People become very popular. They form cults of personality. And then what happens is that they either get hated or they get forgotten. This is what happens almost every single time. Either they get hated or they get forgotten. And it's not just in politics that you see this. You see this in every single dimension of human society in which popularity is a currency. You see this in every single dimension of human society. Media and politics. That's where popularity is very key. Media and politics. And so you'll see people who are very, very popular, and they have a cult of personality, and then some years later, you see all the people who once revered them hate them. All the people who once revered them will turn on them, and they'll say, no, we hate that guy. We've seen this so many damn times. We have seen this too many damn times, guys. We saw this with Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney was quite popular amongst Republicans. I mean, to the point that they made him the nominee against Obama. And a lot of people loved Romney. I remember talking to Republicans back in 2011 about Mitt Romney, and there were people saying, oh no, Mitt Romney, was it 2011? 2012. 2012, I was telling people about Mitt Romney, and I remember telling people that Mitt Romney is not going to win. I told people that. I remember I was telling people in radio interviews that Romney is not electable. And one of the reasons why he was not electable was because he was a Mormon. He's a Mormon. That's one of the reasons why he's not electable. There's a lot of people who will not vote for a Mormon. A lot of conservatives who will not vote for a Mormon. They won't vote for a Mormon. And there were people who hated me for what I was saying, people who went against me for what I was saying, but I was right. And I remember telling people, Romney will lose. I knew that Obama was going to win. I knew Obama was going to win. And why did I know, or how did I know that Obama was going to win? Because I saw the crowds. And I felt the energy in the air. My little antennas were on alert, and I felt the popularity. I could feel it. You could feel the energy. Romney didn't have, I mean, he had a lot of people who were willing to vote for him, but he didn't have that cult of personality that Obama did. Same thing with John McCain. A lot of people were hoping John McCain would win, and there were a number of people in the world of political analyzation who were saying, well, and I remember reading an article on Front Page Magazine. This was back when Front Page Magazine actually had an audience. I remember hearing some guy on Front Page Magazine say something like, Obama can't win because he's not going to win the majority of whites. Well, that was bullshit because Obama won. And there were a lot of people who didn't expect Obama to win the first time because Obama was African American. So he's African American. Americans are not going to vote for a black man. Well, they're not voting for a black man. They're voting for a half black man. He's mocha latte. He's a milk chocolate. A lot of white folks don't mind that type of African American. So they voted for him. And the first time that Obama ran, there was a big cult of personality, and I knew this guy's going to win. Second time came around, I said Obama's going to win. I was right. Twice I was right. With this Trump guy, it feels like we're back in 2008 again. That's what it feels like. It didn't feel that way so much before the assassination. After the assassination, you could feel the energy. You'd feel that Trump air all over the place. And when you have a cult of personality, that makes you the likely winner in an election. When you have a cult of personality. I'll read your guys' comments here. Ortho Christos says, come on, Theo, equivocating between Hitler and a communist is ridiculous and you know it. Well, here's the thing. When American conservatives talk about communism, they talk about Stalin, they talk about Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, and they talk about how the communists killed millions. Now, whether you agree with that or not, the point is that when you accuse someone in the United States of being a communist, you are automatically associating that person with communism, which means that you are associating that person with the atrocities committed by communists in the past. That is the point. That's the point. Bottom line. I think they're saying if the left gets violent, that they will get violent. Well, he said it will be a bloodless revolution unless the left gets in the way. Now, what does get in the way mean? Does it mean try to impede what they want to do through political legislation? He doesn't specify that. And that's what makes this statement even more ominous and more vicious, is that he doesn't specify those details. He makes it very vague. And that's a sign of really a manipulative person. Manipulation is always something that is clouded in some sort of vagueness. And so the reality is that they are evoking violence. Now, here's another thing. There's an article here. Let me show you guys something. Almost forgot about this one. 3 years ago. So Donald Trump said 3 years ago, he said this back in 2016, so more than 3 years ago. He said this about Hillary Clinton: if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is. I don't know. That's a veiled threat. Nothing you can do about Hillary Clinton. Well, maybe you Second Amendment folks can do something about her. Again, incitement. They both do it, is my whole point. I'm not saying the left doesn't do it. Obviously they do. But they both do it. They do. I think they're saying, et cetera, et cetera. Uniparty dialectics, absolutely. It is not the same, and you know it. As a Serbian, I'd like to hear your opinion on Kosovo. I already read this. I think this is why he constantly asks if he is blocked, because he is used to being blocked. I think he's an Israeli troll. I think Israel has a lot of trolls in it. I remember hearing the story about how hundreds of synagogues got death threats in the United States. And then they found out that all the calls were from some guy in Israel who wanted to get the synagogues all terrified so they could talk about anti-Semitism in the country. because a lot of Zionists like this idea that everyone's attacking them and it's this atmosphere of anti-Semitism, so they have to keep promoting this idea. So once in a while, they have some troll in Israel call hundreds of synagogues up and say, "Oh," and make death threats to those synagogues. Most American Christians completely fail to comprehend Christ's commandment to love one another. I know, I agree. The rightists have this idea that lefties are all weak hippies and right is where all the gun. Well, let me tell you, there are some pro-NATO Democrats who would highly disagree with that statement, because I've seen some Democrats who are military or former military, and those guys know how to use guns. They can be very dangerous. Make no mistake. Some people just want an excuse to become violent. Absolutely. There hasn't been any looting or burning down cities. That's correct. You're right, because that's something that the righties don't really do. Righties don't really loot cities. You see, rightists and leftists are different, obviously. They're different not only in their ideology, but they're different in the methods that they utilize when they want to commit violence. Lefties tend to want to steal things. They see it as an excuse to steal. Righties see opportunities to commit violence. That's what righties are looking for. They're looking to commit violence. Righties aren't really interested in stealing, at least not now. They're not really interested in stealing. They don't want to give off this image that they're robbers like the libs are. They do want to give off this image, on the other hand, that they are people who know how to use guns and that they are willing to use them because they're Second Amendment people who are here to defend liberty. There is a difference in their ways of thinking, absolutely. Theo, did you see the Sikh prayer? I did not see the Sikh prayer, no. It reminds me of the scene from Star Wars where Palpatine addresses the Senate after he killed the Jedi. The attempt on my life has left me scarred. That's right. Absolutely. This is people don't realize this is typical political theater. This is typical political theater, what happened with Trump. It is. He got shot, he survived, now he's this hero, and now he's this martyr, he's prevailing over his enemies. He's the big, strong leader who's going to protect us, and people are just eating it up. And you would think that after so many decades of conservatives saying, "Learn from history, everyone, read history books," that they would finally read some history and see that, other people did this in the past. Hell, Erdogan did this. There was an attempted coup to overthrow him, and the coup didn't succeed, and Erdogan consolidated his power to the third freaking gear. And he did mass arrests of hundreds and hundreds of people all over Turkey. Many of us have been praying for this for decades. Better to be trying to be more faith-based. I agree. I don't disagree. I have no problem with it, with referencing religion in speeches. I have no issue with that at all, because religion is important for society. I do have a problem with using religion as a mask to cover up for evil. But the idea of, talking about how we should follow God, and which is what Trump was saying, I don't have an issue with that. America is trying to break through in adolescence. We are reaching a moment of maturity. I agree. America is still a fairly new country, so who knows what's going to happen. I think choosing J.D. Vance was Trump choosing religion over race because he married to an Indian American woman. Sure, yeah, I don't think it's racist or anything like that. I don't see racism under every rock. But if religion is coming back to USA, will it be the spiritual religion or the phony, hedonistic, materialistic religion? The latter of the two. It's going to have some. It's a mixed bag. You have people who are truly religious and they want to get right with God and they want to please God and love God and worship God. And those people are obviously spiritual. But you do have people who see religion as just a tribal thing. It's a component of their nationalism, if you will. You see this with trad Catholics who talk about American nationalism, and religion becomes just like how the Phalangists saw religion. The Phalangists were people who revered the Phoenician race in Lebanon. They put race above religion, they put faith above grace, and everything became tribal. It has nothing to do with Jesus. It has everything to do with their worship of the cedar tree. I went to a Maronite church back in 2013, and I went to a youth meeting there, and they had the the bishop, the archbishop of many of the Maronite churches in the country. His name is Archbishop Abdullah Elias, and every other statement was our people and our people and our people. And where is Christianity in this? Where is it? Everything is our people, our religion, our Lebanese people, our Lebanese people, our Lebanese, the Lebanese people, the Lebanese everything is just the Lebanese people. Where is Jesus? Where is and everything was they were more focused on the cedar tree, which is the symbol of Lebanon, than on Jesus or on the cross. I saw more cedar trees there than I did crucifixes. I felt like I was in a conference or some kind of a lumberjack lobby or something like that. I mean, it was the religion of the cedar tree, and amazingly, Satan is depicted as a cedar tree in the Old Testament. We have been subverted by a diseased consciousness for long enough. It was refreshing to feel the Holy Spirit. It is refreshing that religion is brought up in politics. It is. But again, how much of that is a mask? If the Supreme Court can undo Roe v. Wade, then it can undo civil rights laws and bring back Plessy versus Ferguson. Well, I mean, that's a much more controversial topic, or much more controversial issue than abortion, I would say. Because with abortion, we can say, well, it's a human being in the womb with, and states, to say that a state should have the right to reject abortion or to outlaw abortion, I think is appropriate within the American context, because it is morally wrong to commit an abortion. So giving the states the right to abolish that, I think, is fine. But the idea of saying, well, a state has the right to allow for racial segregation is a whole different issue, because then that state would be purposefully discriminating against people because of their race or their skin color, and that's a whole can of worms right there. Could that happen? I don't know. It wouldn't be surprising, though, because of all the racial polarization that's been going on in this country. I think race is a total distraction. Yeah. Too bad DMX is done. He could have been there, absolutely. He could have been like, Trump, gonna give it to you, Trump, gonna give it to you, gonna give it to you. Something in Brazil with Bolsonaro. It looks like a cult of personality. Greetings from Brazil. Yeah, I agree, Rafael Rocha. If anything has made me have suspicions about DJT, it's the implausible theater of last week. Yep. Good evening, and Destiny is helping Trump. I agree. Do you believe in therapy dogs? I think animals can definitely help us psychologically, cats and dogs. Read about the Selknam massacre. What's that? Let's look that up. Systematic extermination of the Selknam people, one of the 4 indigenous peoples of Tierra del Fuego archipelago. All right. Historians estimate that the genocide spanned a period of between 10 and 20 years and resulted in the decline of the Selknam population from approximately 4,000 people during the 1880s to a few hundred by the early 1900s. Wow. So these were Spaniards who did it. Spaniards, yeah. This was in Chile. Puerto. I did not know about this. I'll read more about it. I'll look more into it. Thank you for telling me that. I recently saw a sociological study that showed that religiosity is highest among non-white, especially blacks, while atheism and agnosticism is highest among whites. Yeah, that's true. It's mainly, atheism is always going to be dominant more so amongst Anglo-Americans, white Americans, Jewish Americans. For some reason amongst Hamitic peoples, atheism has never really been that popular. I'm not entirely sure why, but it just seems to be more popular amongst white people and amongst Jewish people. Donald Trump as a U.S. president is an antidote to solving many global problems that are difficult to solve at the moment. Well, I think what's going to happen is that if you have a Trump presidency, which I think you will, I think that it's going to lead to more of a non-interventionist America. In fact, there was an article that came out about this subject on the New York Times today. Let me show it to you guys. Here we go. So here's an article. I wanted to show this to you guys. Let me first get to your comments. Hold on, the rest of your comments. Donald Trump as a U.S. president is. I read that Trump has already been president 4 years, beating Hillary, and after 8 years of Obama, and then 2020 charade. Finally, people are so lightly talking about the Civil War like it would be some football match. Yeah, it won't be a football match, guys. It'll be millions of people dead. Millions. The Civil War was the most devastating time in U.S. history, even after the World Wars. Yep. Imagine a modern Civil War. It'd be complete hell. Complete nightmare. But these people are just willy-nilly, nonchalantly, lackadaisically. Civil War, guys. You guys are crazy. You're retarded, or you're evil, or you're both. The Democrats have been encouraging violence for over a decade. Otherwise, neither faction will be able to nip the other in the bud and think will keep escalating. After the Civil War, the Republicans won for like 50 years straight. Damn. Theo, I had a bad dream recently. I was in World War II sprinting across what seems like a schoolyard with a big flag of Turkey floating above. I entered the room full of Jewish kids What? And tell them everything is going to be all right in the end, no matter what. Soldiers burst into the room and I wake up crying with splitting headaches. Wow. This is why I have stopped reading up on history. I always have weird, vivid dreams. Well, maybe your mind is telling you something. Your subconscious is telling you something. I think our minds, I think our bodies and our minds know more than we do. I think we speak more loudly with our bodies than with our tongues. I think our bodies speak louder than our tongues. Our body language speaks louder than our tongues. And I think we instinctively recognize things, even without us trying to understand it. I think deep down inside we know the truth. I think deep down inside we know what's going to happen. We just don't want to come to grips with the reality because reality is too scary. When you look at all this political division in the United States, it's quite obvious that some kind of horrific violence is going to break out. And you're going to have at least pockets of violence within this country, I think. And looking at the rest of the world and seeing political tension and chaos in various countries and tensions between countries, I think we instinctively know that some horrific world war is going to take place and but that genocide will happen and certain peoples will seek out to genocide other peoples. I think that's inevitable, and I think we know this deep down inside because we hear about history, we hear about the Holocaust, we hear about civil wars and violence in history, and we think, what makes us so special that we would be exempt from this horrific reality of human existence? So I think our bodies speak louder than our tongues. I think our body language speaks louder than our tongues. I think our stomachs, our guts speak louder than our tongues because our gut feeling should never be questioned because our gut feeling is always right. How many times have we ignored our gut feeling and lived to regret it? I've been on Etsy t-shirt with Trump Brazilians fist pump assassination attempt. Yep, absolutely. I'm finally starting to understand why voting is useless and voting gives consent to this dialectical system. Sure, but it's better to appease both sides than to escalate violence. This image is already iconic. Yep. Wait till we get a Wesley Snipes level of black for president. That would be crazy, huh? That would be awesome. Oh, Denzel Washington for president. Absolutely. Mulatto. Yep. Nice music in the background. Oh, I love it. Yep, this is Persian music, Iranian. So communist is still a bad word in the USA. Sounds great, and I'm happy to hear that. Communism is still seen with a negative connotation, yes, in the United States. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, Ryan DeBeast. It's a bad word for conservative Americans, absolutely. A source on the synagogue thing, Theo? Yeah. I remember reading about this myself. Synagogue death threats. See, everyone's talking about 2023, 2024. But I know that this happened. I remember reading about this. I can't find it. But I know it happened. I remember hearing about it on CNN. Anyway. Happy Friday, Gypsy Bird. America is and has been a trendsetter. Theo, maybe that anti-Semitic pamphlet you got was actually in Israel. Possibly. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. There is a portion of the right wing that's explicit about wanting to create a dictatorship, but they're just a loud minority. Same with ultra-racist. Average normie finds that stuff ridiculous. Well, I'm glad. I think that fighting... the problem... here's the problem, is that most people in Syria didn't want a war with Bashar al-Assad. But that minority of rebels who were armed by NATO caused all the problems. They were big enough to just devastate the country and escalate the violence. I think that fighting sexual degeneracy in America is an important issue. I absolutely agree. I think that Trump will have an impact on the world in a similar manner that the U.S. Revolution did. I don't know about that. I think he's going to have an impact in the world in the sense that he's going to be more non-interventionist. Say Liverpool, mate. I want to show you guys this article. This is from the New York Times. I actually haven't even read this article. Here it is. I saw the headline before coming online, and I thought, you know what? I should read this. This will be interesting. This will be interesting. All right, so let's look at this article here. So it says here... Make myself a little bit smaller. Putin counted on waning U.S. interest in Ukraine. It might be a winning bet. The arc of American foreign policy could be moving closer to the Russian president's view of it, but he has been wrong before about the U.S. President Vladimir Putin's strategy for defeating Ukraine can be summed up in one revealing moment in his February interview with the former television host Tucker Carlson. Addressing the possibility of heightened U.S. involvement in Ukraine, the Russian leader asked Americans, "Don't you have anything better to do?" After several tumultuous weeks in American politics, Mr. Putin appears closer than ever to getting the answer he seeks. President Biden, Ukraine's most important ally, is engulfed in the biggest political crisis of his tenure, with calls from fellow Democrats to withdraw from the presidential race. Former President Donald J. Trump, favored in the polls, has picked as his running mate one of the loudest critics of American aid to Kiev. That's right, Mr. Vance. He is against supporting Ukraine. And at the Republican National Convention Thursday night, Mr. Trump renewed his pledge to end the fighting and channeled Mr. Putin in warning of World War III. Yep, and I remember hearing this in the speech yesterday. All told, the arc of American foreign policy could be moving closer to Mr. Putin's expectations of it, an inward-looking worldview that cares far less about Ukraine than Russians do, making it only a matter of time until Washington abandons Kiev, like its critics say Afghanistan was abandoned in 2021. What did I tell you guys? I said Trump being an anti-interventionist, if he wins, he will bring about more of a non-interventionist policy from the United States. And I think eventually the Americans will not necessarily completely abandon Ukraine, but to a certain extent abandon Ukraine. And they're going to do some kind of a peace. They're going to bring Russia and Ukraine to some kind of a peace negotiation. And then they're going to say, okay, guys, stop fighting. And then Ukraine's going to have to lose territory. That's why a lot of the Ukrainians don't want to negotiate for peace, because they know that once they have to negotiate, they're going to have to lose territory. And what is that going to do? Who is that going to energize? It's going to be the far right in Ukraine, the big far righties. And it's possible that the far right in Ukraine will take power in that country. They'll take power in that country, and they'll become even more militaristic, and they will become more violent towards the ethnic Russian population in that country. And things will only get worse. They're only going to escalate. But I think right now, Ukraine is a sinking ship. I think it's a sinking ship. It has taken in tens of billions of dollars in aid. It continues to lose territory. It continues to lose territory in the east. It has had a very high casualty rate. And things don't really seem to be advancing to a positive end, because Ukraine, at the end of the day, is fighting one of the most powerful militaries in the world. So really, is America just going to sit there and drain resources into Ukraine, or is eventually the Americans just going to abandon Ukraine like a sinking ship? I think the latter of the two is very, very likely. Very likely. So it says here, in Moscow, analysts are poring over American polls and news reports, while state television and pro-Kremlin blogs have featured extensive coverage of Mr. Trump's pick of Senator J.D. Vance as his vice presidential candidate. Dmitry Trenin, the former head of the Carnegie Moscow Center, said his conclusion from the polling is that, quote, all foreign problems, unquote, are low on the priority list for American voters. And they're absolutely right. The Russians are absolutely right. The Russians know this. The Americans know this also. They're not stupid. The Americans know this also. They know Americans don't give a shit about foreign policy. Americans have never gave a shit about foreign policy, unless it has to do with Israel, and you're speaking to evangelicals who are very, very pro-Israel. That is the bottom line. Putin's strategic calculus is built on this. At some point, Americans will get tired, said Mr. Trenin, who now teaches at a Moscow university and described Russia's war aims as completely appropriate. Guys, I never even went to university and I knew this. I never went to university, never studied geopolitics. I'm not the chairman of this think tank. I'm not the House professor of the chair of the Association of Mr. Hillcox, whatever, Vladimir Trotsky in the University of Washington. I'm not any of those things. And I knew this shit. I knew this was the case. You don't have to be a professor to understand this. It's very, very simple. For years, America has been supporting Ukraine, pouring in tens of billions of dollars. Not much has really changed. Russia continues to take territory. Eventually, the Americans are going to do what America does best, and that is abandon its allies. Because the Americans don't want a full-on confrontation with Russia. Trump is a non-interventionist. Most Americans are anti-interventionist or straight-up isolationist. What's going to happen? It's very obvious. Very obvious. Polls show that while most Americans favor maintaining or increasing support for Ukraine in its fight against Russia, they do not see it as a key electoral issue, meaning they don't give a shit. 50% of American adults told the Pew Research Center in April that limiting Russian influence should be a top foreign policy priority. Only 23% said the same of support for Ukraine. They don't give a shit. And when YouGov surveyed Americans in June on 28 policies proposed by Mr. Biden, the least popular one, with 30% backing, was pledging 10 years of U.S. military support for Ukraine in its war against Russia. Bottom line. One of London's towns, they started to fight among themselves, and then with the police, the pavement slabs were flying in the air like UFOs. What the hell? Mr. Putin, on the other hand, claims he is pursuing historical justice. Ukraine is a rightful part of Russia, as he said, describing his invasion as part of the existential conflict, blah, 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 blah. What else does it say here? The stakes in that bet have never been as high as they are now, with Mr. Putin accepting enormous costs in lives and treasure to wage his third year of war in Ukraine. Analysts believe that Mr. Putin expects that eventually the American-led West will stop arming Ukraine and push its leaders into an armistice on Russia's terms. That's what's going to happen eventually. That's what's going to happen. It's quite obvious. You have issues on the border, issues with migration, issues with the national debt. Mr. Putin told Mr. Carlson in February, would it be better to negotiate with Russia? And that's what Trump wants to do. Trump wants to negotiate with the Russians. So you see it right there in the horse's mouth. The Russians believe that Trump is likely going to win, or they believe he's going to win. And the Russians are saying, look, if Trump wins, it'll be good for us because the Russians, Trump doesn't really want war with Russia like the Democrats do. So he's going to be more non-interventionist. Bottom line. UK is burning. What's going on in the UK? I saw some videos of rioting. Yeah, I saw some videos from the UK. Let's look it up. Look it up on Twitter. Yeah, it's insane. It's in Leeds, I believe, right? In Leeds. If I type in Leeds, what do I get? Oh, damn. Yeah. Let's check this out. Oh, that's my Russian stuff. Hold up. My Russian music. So let's check this out. There we go. The This one does not want to play. I saw this one.
No way! No way! Oh my fucking lord! Oh my body is gone! Oh my!
Such low-class people. Everything about them is low-class. The way they talk, the way they look, everything about them, the way they dress, everything is just low freaking class. They're just laughing and they're laughing and they think it's so great. Here's what these people fail to understand because they're so stupid. They're very stupid people. How do I say this? When you piss off the white man, you are in deep shit. Because when white people get angry... See, here's the thing. George Floyd... Oh, let's go destroy property. White people stay home for the most part, right? White, conservatives, right wing, whatever. They stay home. They don't get involved in that stuff. Stay home for the most part. Be very, very wary of the people who are slow to anger. Very wary of those people, because in those people, anger builds up. See, there's two different types of anger. You have the anger that is very immediate and reactive. So, such as, oh, a cop killed a black man. Let's go riot. And they're not really thinking about the future. They don't give a shit about the future impact that has. They don't give a damn. They're just evil demons, these people. They don't give a shit. Destroy people's businesses, destroy people's cars. They don't give a damn. Hurt cops, kill cops. They don't care. But then you have the anger that gradually builds up before it blows up. It's like a volcano. It gradually builds up before it blows up. And when it blows up, you better run because there's going to be lava on the ground. When white people get angry, run, because a lot of those righties are very well armed. They train. They buy their military equipment on some magazine, Soldier of Fortune, whatever. They got all the shit together. A lot of them are ex-military. And when they get mad, God help you. I'm telling you, if the white man ever gets angry, and I mean really angry, I ain't leaving the house. And it's amazingly, this is how retarded these people are. They never look at history. Look at World War II. World War II was the result of white people getting angry. In this case, it was the Germans, and the Germans were angry at the communists, and they were tired of the communists. They were tired of the communist encroachment on their country, things like that. They were worried about a rising Soviet Union. They were angry because of the economic woes and all the different problems that were in Germany as a result of World War II. And what happened? I mean, they didn't vote for Hitler immediately. It took them a while. It took them, what was it, over 10 years. And then they voted for Hitler. And they butchered tens of millions of people. That was the white man getting angry. You see, when a war breaks out in Africa, no one really gives a shit. Because a war in Africa is not going to have any sort of ripple effect. When the white man goes to war, the whole world listens. The whole world watches. The whole world is concerned. And yes, that's right. You're right about Japan. White people in America got mad at Japan, and they dropped 2 nukes in that country. I'm telling you right now. And these people are so retarded. They shouldn't listen. I was thinking about this yesterday. If you live in a country that is clean, that doesn't have a lot of crime, that has a good economy. Shut up. Be a nice guy. Smile. Be welcoming. Shake hands. Don't be annoying. Don't be obnoxious. Don't give people a reason to hate you. Don't give people a reason to hate you. I know I'm not white. I'm not. Some people say I'm Caucasian, whatever, but I'm not white. I'm not like, Mr. Hulk Hogan white. I'm not Steve Austin. I'm not Donald Trump. But I want to make sure that I am not this guy, and I never want to be this guy. I'm not this guy who walks around thinking the world owes me something. Oh, you're white and I'm not. You owe me. I'm not going to do that bullshit. That's bullshit. But a lot of people who are foreigners or they come from foreign parents, they don't think that way, and that's the freaking problem. And I keep telling these people, stop being such fucking assholes. Stop doing it. Just stop. Because when these people get angry, they won't stop. They will kill the good with the bad. They will. They will kill the good with the bad. They will kill the good with the bad, and they will feel no remorse about it. They will laugh about it. They will laugh at your suffering. They will not give a shit. But you see these idiots, you're laughing and you're smiling, and people have a breaking point. And some people have shorter fuses than others. Some people have much longer fuses. I think white people, they tend to have much longer fuses. Not short fuses. They tend to have much longer fuses. And when that fuse eventually, when the spark on that fuse eventually gets closer to the explosive matter, you don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. I tell you that right now. We got a sample of this with Anders Breivik in Norway. That's one white guy. One white dude with a gun. And look at what he did. He planned the whole thing out. He put a bomb in some island somewhere, and he started mowing people down. I think what he did was he put a bomb somewhere, he ignited the bomb, and then the people were running, and then he pretends to be a police officer. Oh, that's very crafty. That's evil. That's very evil. And then everyone's trusting him. Oh, please. Oh, Mr. Officer, help us. Oh, go that way. Everyone go that. He starts redirecting the people. And before you know it, he has a gun out, and he's mowing people down, and he slaughters over, what was it? How many people did Anders Breivik kill? Dozens of people. I mean, he slaughtered dozens of people. Anders Breivik. How many people did he kill? He killed over 70 people. He killed over 70 people, this guy. "77 people. And he injured 319 people. That's one white boy. That's one angry European. And this is in frickin' Norway, where they make it difficult for people to own guns. You're not going to win. You're not going to win. Let me tell you, I truly believe, and this is undeniable, I truly believe that there are, how do I say this without sounding bad? I truly believe that there are differences between peoples. I think it's undeniable. I think it is 100% undeniable. There are differences between peoples. I think there are differences between the different peoples. And every people has its pros and its cons. With white people, they're very industrial, very militarily industrious. They're very artistic, and they can build civilizations, and they're very innovative. I mean, they are. I mean, how else do you explain that all these European countries, not all of them, but a lot of these European countries are very innovative, and look at their histories. They have very long and rich histories of civilization and art and culture. I mean, no one's talking about classical African music, but people are still talking about Vivaldi. They're still talking about Bach. They're still talking about European composers. I mean, there is something to be said about that. And people need to understand that there are cultural differences, and you need to respect that. If you're living in their country, you need to respect that. And people are so stupid. You know, they're so evil. They're so stupid. Their minds are so fogged by the haze of arrogance and rebellion that they just don't care. Do you know what pissing off the white guy is like? It's like that movie. There was this film. Oh, what was the name of that movie? It was a guy who just goes on a rampage. Was it Postal? No, it wasn't Postal. It was movie about, it's like his wife leaves him, who goes on a rampage. He goes to a restaurant and he gets mad that the hamburger doesn't look like how it's advertised. Falling Down, 1993. That's what pissing off the white guy is like. Watch the film. Well, don't watch it, but the movie Falling Down, you know, that's an example of the white man going crazy. And when the white man goes crazy, watch out. Just watch out. I'm telling you. I don't even know why these people, like, why are they rioting? Leeds. Let's check this out. What's going on over there in Leeds? It's not even in the news. I typed in Leeds, BBC. Oh, Shane, this is proof that sports are a distraction. I type in Leeds, right? This is what I get. Aye, mate, a game of golf. Open 2024. Shane Lowry sets pace as Tiger Woods bows out at Royal Troon. Where is the rioting? Leeds riot. Police cars are flipped over. Why is this happening? What's going on? Did a family incident lead to massive protests? Let's check this out. Okay. On Thursday evening, Leeds Hare Hills area in the United Kingdom experienced a violent disturbance. Local police described the situation as a serious disorder incident. The unrest reportedly began after police and local government workers intervened in a family incident, prompting residents to flood the streets in protest. This is definitely not a white person thing. There's a family incident. Oh, let's go flood the streets. The unrest started around 5 p.m. According to the latest report by AP, the situation is now under control. The large crowd gathered in the street caused significant property damage. Footage shows people throwing objects at a police vehicle before it was overturned on Luxor Street, east of the city center. Rioters set a bus ablaze and overturned a police car. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, who's responsible for law enforcement in Britain, said disorder of this nature has no place in our society. Okay, we know that. There was a family incident earlier in the day that, this is why I hate reading media articles, by the way. Just get to the freaking point. There was a family incident earlier in the day that the police attended, and our officials attended that a lot. And our officials attended that a lot of the community got concerned about. So what happened? Somebody threw a rock at somebody, and the cops got involved, and they said, "Don't get involved in my uncle's problem, mate." Or what happened here? What led to that? What family incident led to this bullshit? Do you see any English people walking around? Do you see any English people? I don't see any Anglo-Saxons walking around. You see any Anglo-Saxon people walking around here? I don't see any Anglo-Saxon people walking around. I don't see William the Conqueror walking around here. I mean, I don't see anything. What's going on? Here's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that the right wing in Europe is going to continue to radicalize, and then eventually you're going to see Nazism rise up in Europe. I'm not saying it's going to happen in England specifically, But within Europe, you are going to see Nazism make a comeback because a lot of people look at stuff like this and they say, maybe Hitler was right. And that's what's going to happen. They wanted to take a child into custody. The cops want to take a child into custody. Okay, what's a child? How old was the child? Okay, hold on. Let's look into this. So the cops wanted to arrest somebody, and then the people there didn't want to let the cops do their jobs. Okay, that's the impression I'm getting from what you're saying here. Police, UK, Leeds. Okay, police, custody, take custody. All right, let's check this out. Okay, leave me alone. Let me read the article, please. "2,000 people rioted. Our officers responded to a call from Children's Social Care at around 5 p.m. yesterday after social workers reported being met with hostility when dealing with a child protection matter." Okay, so somebody was beating their kid up, and then the social workers wanted to get involved, and then the social workers were treated with hostility, or they were assaulted, and then the cops got involved, and then that sparked 2,000 people to riot. See, all they're doing, outside of committing crimes, all they're doing is they are provoking people to hate them. That's what they're doing. They're provoking people to hate them. And they're going to radicalize people even further to right-wing ideology. Eventually, something's got to give. This is not going to go on forever. Something's got to give. You're going to have right-wing ideology become mainstream, and in some ways, it already is mainstream. Just look at Germany and the AfD. A baby was thrown out the window. Is that why the cops came? So somebody, okay. God, man, every freaking website's like, accept your cookies, get the cookies. Leeds riot. Sobbing dad begs for his children back after a night of violence on streets. A sobbing dad whose children were taken away by the police, leading to mass disorder on the streets of Leeds, has appealed for calm, but begged for his family back. This morning, a family congregation... Why did they take his kids away? Because they wanted to? What was he doing? I don't buy into this nonsense that this guy was just some innocent man and all it took his kids. What the hell was he doing? A police car was overturned with its sirens still blazing. It is believed violence flared after 4 children were removed and placed in care. Their parents were left crying. Oh, I see. So this is at least this is what the least worst thing, the least worst cases could be is child negligence, right? Which still warrants the government getting involved. The children are all under 14. They're originally from Romania, so they're gypsies. They never hurt their children. They could be lying. The point is that even if their kids were taken, which I believe they were, that doesn't warrant 2,000 people rioting on the streets. You don't know why those kids were taken away. Romanian. The Romanians are also involved. So you have a Romanian, Indian, African coalition for the riots. They were shouting Allahu Akbar or Inshallah. They're Muslim, Theo. The Romanians were Muslim? Whitechapel, okay. All right. I just want to get all the details on why these kids were taken away. So 2,000 people were upset by this, or I think a lot of those people were just seeing it as an opportunity to be violent. It's just absolutely insane. Do you know what the future of England is? Just watch the film Children of Men. Just watch the film Children of Men. That's the future of England. In the movie Children of Men, England is a dystopian society in which immigrants are kept locked up within this giant refugee camp. They can't get out, and you can't get in without going through some kind of a security check. And the people who are kept as prisoners within this refugee camp try to do an insurrection, and the British government decides to just nuke the refugee camp. That's eventually what happens in the film. It's one of the most depressing films ever. That is the future of Britain. I'm not saying they're going to nuke a refugee camp, but I think eventually there's going to be some sort of racial violence that's going to lead to something very, very catastrophic. I could be wrong, and I hope I am. But I will say at least that the future of Europe is right-wing, and you will see a massive Nazi revival within Europe eventually. I do believe that. I grew up around immigrants in Canada. It was always us versus them mentality between the immigrants. And yep, absolutely. You still see that today. And I saw that myself when I was in Canada. The hatred for Indian people was just unbelievable. What else do we have? That's a very good movie. Oh, it's a masterpiece. Children of Men is an absolute masterpiece. I want to talk to you guys some more about the biblical theme that I've been discussing, and that is the subject of Jesus Christ in the Old Testament. I've been doing some more research on this. It's really fascinating stuff. I've been reading Justine Martyr's dialogue with Trypho, and it is very fascinating to see what the Old Testament had to say about God and how God is more than one person. And you see the triune God in the Old Testament. And you see the Messiah in the Old Testament and how the Messiah is described as being one who will suffer. Very fascinating stuff. So I want to read to you guys some of my notes that I put together. Let me just see if I can set everything up here. Hold up. There's some things I want to show you guys. Some things I want to show you guys a clip from Rabbi Shmuley. That guy's an absolute psychopath. Let's see here. Okay, so I put together some notes for this live stream. We'll see how this goes. So I want to show you guys my notes on the screen. That way it'll be easier for you guys to just keep track of what I'm saying. Pages. Here we go. All right, so here are my notes here. I want to show you guys some of my stuff. It's not professionally done, but it'll do. So, Jesus Christ in the Old Testament, the Messiah in the Old Testament. Very, very fascinating stuff. So let's get right into this. So I was looking into Isaiah 53. Isaiah 53 is the verse, probably the verse that Christians and Jews are arguing over the most and have been arguing over the most, because in Isaiah 53, it speaks of this suffering Messiah who will die for the sins of the world, die for the sins of Israel. So, for example, and I wrote this down, from chapters 40 to 51 in the book of Isaiah, you will see the Hebrew word ebed, which means servant. And the term servant of the Lord is mentioned 17 times in those chapters, 40 to 51. Sometimes as a reference to the nation of Israel, such as in Isaiah 41, verse 8, and Isaiah 42, verse 19, and sometimes referring to a righteous individual, such as in Isaiah 49, verse 3, and Isaiah 50, verse 10. But references to a servant as a nation stop at Isaiah 48, verse 20, and from there on, the servant is always an individual. So when we come to Isaiah 52, verse 13, which is where it talks about the Messiah suffering, the focus is clear. It's speaking of a righteous individual. And according to the Targum, Isaiah 42 is referring to the Messiah. Isaiah 42, beginning in verse 1, says, "Behold, my spirit, whom I uphold, mine elect, in whom my soul dwelleth. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. I have put my spirit." So God is saying, behold my servant, whom I uphold, mine elect, in whom my soul delighteth. Now, what does it say in Exodus chapter 23? This is very fascinating. What does it say in Exodus chapter 23? Behold, and I'll go back to Exodus because this definitely does connect with everything. "Behold, I am going to send an angel before you to guard you along the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Be attentive to him and obey his voice. Do not be rebellious toward him, or he will not pardon your rebellion, since my name is in him." So it speaks of this angel. And God says, I'm going to send you this angel. You need to obey him or you will be condemned. Do not rebel against him, for my name is in him. And what does it say of the Messiah in Isaiah 42, verse 1? "Behold my servant, whom I uphold, mine elect, in whom my soul delighteth. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles." Is it a fragment of your new book? No. I'm not writing a book right now. I want to do videos and write about this topic. So it says here, Isaiah 42, verses 68, "I, the Lord, have called thee in righteousness, and I will hold thine hand, and I will keep thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles." So God is saying to this individual, "I, the Lord, have called thee in righteousness. I will hold thine hand. I will keep thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles, to open the blind eyes, to bring out the prisoners from the prison, and them that sit in darkness out of the prison house. I am the Lord, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another." You see, in the dialogue between Trypho and Justine Martyr, Trypho quotes Isaiah 42, and he says, well, how can you say, Trypho argues, how can you say that Christ shares in the glory of the Father when in Isaiah 42, God says, "My glory will I not give to another"? And Justine Martyr responds to Trypho by quoting the entire verse. He says, you're only reading one line. You're not reading the totality of the verse. Because in this verse, it says, "I, the Lord, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thine hand. I will keep thee, give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles, to open the blind, to bring people out of darkness. I am the Lord, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another." Meaning, I will not give to another. I will not give to a person. I will not share my glory with a person other than this individual. So he does share in his glory with this person. And he says, and I will not share my glory with another. That's what he's saying. Isaiah 42 verse 4, he will not falter or be discouraged till he establishes justice on earth. In his teachings, the islands will put their hope. In his teachings, the islands will put their hope. This is Isaiah 42 verse 4. Well, what does that mean? The isles. What does it mean by the isles? The isles is Hittim. And according to Josephus, Hittim was used by the Jews to reference the European parts of the Mediterranean. So Italy, Greece, Anatolia, Sicily. This was all considered Hittim, the Isles of the Gentiles, the Isles of Japheth. The Isles of Japheth. And so he is saying, in his teachings, the Europeans will put their hope. And what happened in history? What happened was Europe became Christendom. They put their hope in the Jewish Messiah, in the Messiah of Israel, in Jesus Christ. In his teachings, the islands will put their hope. That's happened in Christianity, with Christendom being in Europe. And what does it say in the book of Genesis? What does Noah say to Ham, Shem, and Japheth? He says, "Cursed be Ham, may he be a servant to his brothers. Blessed be the God of Shem, and may God enlarge Shem," meaning the Europeans will be a people of empire. May God enlarge them. "And Japheth will reside in the tents of Shem," meaning what? The tents meaning the temples of Shem. What does the name Shem mean? Shem means name. The name of who? The name of God. Shem literally means the name of God. And so Noah is saying, blessed be the God of Shem. So Shem will be the people of religion, spirituality. The Messiah comes from the line of Shem. But may Japheth reside in the tents of Shem, meaning Japheth will reside in the temples established by the Semitic religion, by the Semites. And that's what happened in Christianity. Who led the church? The Europeans. Who led Christendom? The Europeans. Where was Christianity dominant, and where was Christianity the most dominant? Where did Christianity have political power? It was none other than in the lands of Japheth. That's where it was, in the lands of Japheth. Japheth living in the tents of Shem. So the tents of Shem, the temple was a tent of Shem. What happened to that temple? It was destroyed. That temple was no more. Who took the mantle for the religion of Shem? The Japhethites. Because Shem, specifically the Hebrews, rejected Christ. And what happened? The Jewish followers of Jesus went to go preach to the Japhethites, to the Gentile world. And the Gentiles heard Paul. They listened to the church's teachings. They listened to the words of Christ. And what happened? The Japhethites put their hope in Christ. The Isles put their hope in Christ. As it says here in Isaiah 42, verse 4, in his teaching, the islands will put their hope. In his teaching, the islands will put their hope. The Messiah is called from the womb. Isaiah 49, verse 1. Listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken, ye people from afar. The Lord hath called me from the womb. From the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name. This is speaking of the Messiah in the womb of his mother. Who was the mother of the Messiah? The Virgin Mary. Right there in Isaiah 49. And then you go to verse 6. And he said, it is a light thing that you shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Judah. This is the same person talking, by the way. The same person who said that God called me from the womb of my mother. This same person is talking in verse 6. And he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles. So you have these Nation of Islam type people who come around and they'll say, oh, Jesus only came for the Jews. And Muslims also make this argument. The Messiah only came for the Jews. That's not what it says in Isaiah. That's not what it says in Isaiah. The Jewish Messiah is to come for the Jews and the Gentiles, all of humanity. It is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth. Now you have some people, Jewish apologists, who will say, this is Isaiah talking about himself. When was Isaiah made to be the salvation unto the end of the earth? The salvation given by God unto the end of the earth. This is speaking of the Messiah. Thus saith the Lord, the Redeemer of Israel and his Holy One. The Redeemer of Israel and his Holy One. To him whom man despiseth, humanity will hate the Messiah. To him whom the nation abhorreth, Israel will reject the Messiah. To a servant of rulers, kings shall see and arise. Princes also shall worship, because of the Lord that is faithful and the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose thee. And he will free the people from darkness, etc. And you go to Isaiah 48, verse 16, look what it says. Come near to me, listen to this. From the beginning I have not spoken in secret. From the time it took place, I was there. How is this talking about Isaiah? From the beginning I have not spoken in secret. From the beginning of what? From the beginning of time. Now, Jewish commentators will say, well, this is speaking of, by beginning, it's referring to when God made a covenant with Moses. But Isaiah wasn't alive when Moses was given the covenant. He wasn't even born yet. From the beginning, so even if you want to make the argument that it's talking about the beginning of the Mosaic covenant, this person who is speaking is still timeless, not constrained by time, meaning he is eternal. From the beginning I have not spoken in secret. From the time it took place, I was there. And now the Lord God has sent me and his Spirit. What do we see here? The Lord God, the Father, has sent me, this individual who is to be the salvation for the world, to bring mankind to redemption and to be a light to the Gentiles, and his Spirit, Holy Spirit. God the Father, God the Son, God the Spirit, the triune God, right there in the Old Testament. Right there in the Old Testament. So you look at Isaiah 48, from 12 to 16. Let's get the full context here. Listen to me, Jacob, Israel, whom I called. I am he, I am the first, I am also the last. Assuredly, my hand founded the earth, and my right hand spread out the heavens. When I call to them, they stand together. So check this out. Listen to me, Jacob, Israel, whom I called. I am he, I am the first, I am also the last. This is God speaking. Assuredly, my hand founded the earth. Assuredly, my hand founded the earth, meaning I created the world. And my right hand spread out the heavens. When I call to them, they stand together. Assemble all of you and listen. Who among them has declared these things? The Lord loves him, speaking of this appointed individual. He will carry out his good pleasure against Babylon, and his arm will be against the Chaldeans. Yes, I have spoken indeed. I have called him. I have brought him. So I've called this person. I have brought him, and he shall make his way successful. Come near to me. Listen to this. From the beginning, I have not spoken in secret. From the time it took place, I was there. And now the Lord God has sent me and his Spirit. So God is speaking in the first person when he says, when I call to them, they stand together. My right hand spread out the heavens. But then you fast forward, he says, I have brought him. He's speaking of this individual. And then he says, and now the Lord God has sent me. So God is saying, I have sent this individual. And then God is saying simultaneously, God has sent me. Who is this referring to? God is sending God. I have sent him. The Lord has sent me. This is the triune God dialoguing with itself. I have brought him. Okay, well, God has brought someone. This is God talking, because he says here in the beginning, my right hand spread out the heavens. Who spread out the heavens? God. I have brought him, this individual who will save mankind. And then it says, the Lord has sent me. Well, is it talking about God, or is it talking about this person who was sent? It's talking about both, because both are God. The one who sends the Messiah, the one who redeems Israel as the Messiah, this is speaking of God, however you look at it. And that's in Isaiah 48, verses 12 to 16. Isaiah 63, verses 7 to 10. I will make mention of the mercy. Now you can see the Trinity in Isaiah 63. I will make mention of the mercies of the Lord and the praises of the Lord according to all that the Lord has granted us, and the great goodness toward the house of Israel, which he has granted them according to his compassion and according to the abundance of his mercies. For he said, certainly they are my people, sons who will not deal falsely. So he became their Savior, the Messiah. In all their distress, he was distressed, and the angel of his presence saved them. In his love and in his mercy, he redeemed them, and he lifted them up and carried them all the days of old. But they rebelled and grieved his Holy Spirit. So you have God, then you have the angel of his presence saving people, and then you have the children of Israel grieving who? God's Holy Spirit. 3. So you see this in Isaiah 63, the angel of God's presence, the Holy Spirit, and God. And then you have Isaiah 48, verse 16, and now the Lord God has sent me and his Spirit. You have the Lord God, you have me, the person who sent, and you have his Spirit. And then if you go to Isaiah 48, verses 12 to 16 to get the full context, what do you get? You get, my hand founded the earth. That's the creation. My right hand spread out the heavens. That's creation. That's God talking. And then he says, I have brought him. And then, well, okay, so God is speaking of bringing someone, bringing in the Redeemer, the Messiah. And then it says, from the time it took place, I was there, and now the Lord God has sent me. So God is saying, I have sent this person. And then he says, he has sent me. This is the dialogue of the triune God, the dialogue of the persons within the Godhead. It's right there in the Old Testament. Then they accuse us of not following Judaism. Okay. And look what it says here. So people will argue and say, well, how do you know that the angel of his presence is God? The angel of his presence is spoken of in Exodus 23, verses 20 to 23. Behold, I am going to send an angel before you to guard you along the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Be attentive to him. Listen to this man and obey his voice. Do not be rebellious toward him, for he will not pardon your rebellion. Since my name is in him, he will not forgive you if you rebel against him. For my name, the name of the Father, the name of God, is in him. And if you truly obey his voice, and you do all that I say, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. For my angel will go before you and bring you into the land of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I will completely destroy them. It's just absolutely sublime. We're talking about the Messiah in the Old Testament. It's right there. Obey him. He will not forgive your sins. He will not pardon you. Well, only God forgives. And then he says, my name is in him. This is the angel of his presence. The angel of his presence. People say, oh, it's an angel. It's not an angel like Michael the archangel or Gabriel the archangel or Raphael the angel. It's an angel in the sense that he is a messenger of the Father. Angel simply means messenger. And then you go to Isaiah 53, probably the most contended over verse between Christians and Jews, because it speaks here of the suffering Messiah. Isaiah 53 is not talking, because the Jews always say Isaiah 53 is talking about Israel, that Israel dies for its own sins. How do you die for your own sins? And then it says that this person who dies for the iniquities of Israel is perfect. He's sinless. He's innocent. But if Israel is dying for his own sins, then how can Israel be sinless at the same time? It's obvious what's being read here. A sinless man dies for the sins of Israel. But they say, no, it's Israel dying for itself. But this man is innocent. And Israel obviously is not innocent. So there's a contradiction here. Plus, when it talks about the suffering servant, it speaks of an individual, not a plural of persons. Isaiah 53 says, all we like sheep have gone astray, meaning we're full of sin. We have turned everyone to his own way, sin, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. Our sins are put on this individual like a lamb who is sacrificed. Isaiah 48 verse 1. Hear this house of Jacob, who are named Israel, and who came from the waters of Judah, who swear by the name of the Lord and invoke the God of Israel, but not in truth nor righteousness. So the Jews invoke the God of Israel. They say, oh, we follow the God of Israel, but not in truth nor in righteousness. So why should we trust the Jewish commentators? Why should we trust the Tovia singers? Why should we trust what the rabbinic scholars say when it says right there in Isaiah, hear this house of Israel, who are named Israel, and who came from the waters of Judah, who swear by the name of the Lord, but not in truth nor in righteousness. Even from long ago, your ear has not been opened. Look what it says in Isaiah 48, verse 8. Even from long ago, your ear has not been opened, because I knew that you would deal very treacherously, and you have been called a rebel from birth. The Israelites are rebels from birth. So why should we trust Rabbi Shmuley, who argues against Christians? Why should we trust Tovia Singer, who argues against Christians? Why should we trust any of the rabbinic scholars when God says that they are rebellious from birth? Israel is a rebel from birth. And don't give me this garbage, well, you follow Isaiah, you follow those. Those people are given supernatural grace. Let's be real here. Those people, it's miraculous that those people are prophets. Prophecy is a gift, by the way. It's not something that you just attain by your own virtue. And look at and here is the thing. Even if you prove to the Jews that Jesus Christ is the Messiah, they will reject God. See, they claim to worship the God of Israel. But if they truly were shown emphatically, empirically, that the God of Israel gave to us Jesus Christ as the Messiah, they would reject the God of Israel. They would reject the God of Israel. Case in point, let me show you guys this video. I was watching this debate last night. Rabbi Shmuley debating with Michael Brown back in like 2000 and whatever. 2012 or something. When was this? I don't even know. It doesn't say when this it doesn't really matter. Let's go to 18-minute mark. Here we go. Rabbi Shmuley gives this whole what do you call it? He gives this very emotional speech about why he rejects Jesus. And he says, even if Jesus were shown to be the Messiah, even if Jesus were shown to have died for the sins of the world, he said, I would reject God. That's what he says. Don't believe me? Let's give this a listen. Here we go.
Kids, and isn't it true that all my Christian brothers and sisters, precisely down to the actions that you practice, which are copied and aped by your kids? And isn't it true that all my Christian brothers and sisters who are here tonight believe in the very same thing? Because is that not the ethos of the great United States of America? We're not communists. We don't allow the state to take control or responsibility for our lives. God Almighty, even if it were true that Jesus died for your sins, then I would reject religion outright, and I would dismiss it as a farce.
Right there. So even if we were able to prove to them that Jesus Christ was the Messiah, they would still reject us. They would reject the God of Israel. So if they were proved, if they were shown emphatically that the Messiah was sent by God, that Jesus Christ was sent by God to die for the sins of mankind, he said not only we reject God, he would reject all of religion. See, this is why hell was made. This is why hell was created. Because there are certain people who, even if they are shown the light, they embrace the darkness. And is it a coincidence that Rabbi Shmuley is supporting the mass bombing of Gaza, in which thousands of people have been killed by 2,000-pound bombs? All those, and what does it say in the Bible? All those who hate me love death. Even if we're able to show them, you see, if they were shown Jesus Christ was the Messiah, do you know what they would do? They would all become atheists. Not all of them. Some of them would accept. A minority would accept, absolutely. But the majority of them would become atheists. They would say, we hate God. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. That's why so many Jews are atheists, because a lot of them hate God. And the religious ones just use religion to masquerade their hatred of God. Because you see the verses in the Old Testament. You see how obvious it is, speaking of the Messiah. And they reject it. Now let's look at Chronicles. First, I want to show you guys this verse. I saw this earlier today. I thought this was absolutely amazing. 1 Chronicles chapter 7. Let's get out of the King James Version because I don't want to get into that thee and thy stuff. It's kind of whatever. Is it 1 Chronicles? No, I think it's 2 Chronicles. Ah, here it is, 2 Chronicles. Look at the warning that God gives to King Solomon. Shmuley is a son of Satan. I agree. People are evil. Even if he is shown emphatically, even if it is proven to him that Jesus Christ died for the sins of the world, he would reject religion. And then, unironically, he says before that, we're not communists. We're not communists. It's just that if it was proven to me that Jesus Christ died for the sins of the world, I would just reject all of religion. But I'm not a communist. No. I'm not like those communists. So, 2 Chronicles chapter 7. Check this out. This is very, very profound. Look what it says here. So Solomon finished the massive animal sacrifice. Solomon finished the house of the Lord. So he built the temple for God. Then the Lord appeared to Solomon. Well, I thought no man ever saw God. How does the Lord appear to Solomon? That's that figure. That's God coming in the form of a man, as we see in the book of Genesis and the book of Exodus. Then the Lord appeared to Solomon at night and said to him, I have heard your prayer and have chosen this place, the temple, for myself as a house of sacrifice. If I shut up the heavens so that there is no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send a plague among my people, and my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now my eyes will be open and my ears attentive to the prayer offered in this place. What's that place? The temple. So God is saying, if you people are suffering, and you humble your ways, and you ask for my forgiveness from the temple, I will forgive you, and I'll make everything right. For now I have chosen and consecrated this house. For now I have chosen and consecrated this house so that my name may be there forever. Now, what are the Jews always saying? They're saying circumcision is forever. Everything is forever, right? The covenant is forever. Okay. But God is saying that my name, I have chosen this place that my name may be here forever. And my eyes and my heart will be there always. My eyes and my heart will be there always. Well, the temple is not there. The temple is not there. So God is not there. But he says, I have chosen and consecrated this house so that my name will be there forever. But the temple isn't there. So what happened? And what did Jesus say? Tear down this temple and I will rebuild it in 3 days. Why 3 days? Because he resurrected after 3 days in the tomb. He is the temple. The temple is here forever. As for you, if you walk before me as your father walked, to do according to everything that I have commanded you, and keep my statutes and my ordinances, then I will establish your royal throne as I covenanted with your father David, saying, you shall not lack a man to be a ruler in Israel. But if you turn away and abandon my statutes and my commandments, which I have set before you, and go and serve other gods and worship them, then I will uproot you from my land, which I have given you, and this house, the temple, which I have consecrated for my name, I will cast out of my sight, and I will make it a proverb and an object of scorn among all peoples. So he's saying, if you reject me, I will destroy this temple. Well, the temple was destroyed, which means they rejected God. That's what that means. The temple was destroyed because they rejected God. Well, when did they reject God? Well, at 30 or 40 years after the crucifixion, the temple was destroyed, but the Jews were religious. Have you ever read Josephus' account of the Judean War with the Romans? And he talks about how the Romans were astonished by how religious the Jews were. How they kept Sabbath, how they kept how they kept their laws, how they chose death than to break the Sabbath, how they chose death than to allow their temple to be destroyed. They were very religious. In fact, they murdered Christ over religion because Christ said, tear down this temple and I will rebuild it in 3 days. They were basically accusing Christ of terrorism. They said he wants to destroy the temple. We got to kill him. That's how much they loved their temple. That's how religious these people were. But yet God still destroyed the temple as he promised, as he warned in 2 Chronicles chapter 7. And he said, if you reject me, I will destroy this house. Well, he destroyed the house even when they were supposedly religious. Well, what happened? And because the temple is destroyed, that means that they rejected God, so why should I trust your sages? Why should I trust your rabbis? Why should I trust your interpretations and your commentaries when God destroyed your temple when you were supposedly so religious? And he said, I have chosen this house that I might live in it forever. Well, he's not there. The temple was destroyed. So where is he? Go back to the words of Christ. I will rebuild this temple in 3 days. Anyway. I'm going to talk more about this subject as the days go by and as I learn more things about this topic. So let's get into music. I've been talking for 2 hours and a half already, so let's get to musical recommendations. And that's it. Any musical recommendations? So let's get into music. Technically, the Bible says that hell was prepared for the devil and his angels. It speaks of wailing and gnashing of teeth. So, Judas Mind by Seether. All right. Let's give this a listen. 9 days. Wow, this is a recent song from Seether. Let's check this out. So we're off to a good start.
You believe in the words as tokens. Your heart still succumbs to the fear unspoken.
This is it still has that Seether spirit in it, but you can tell they're trying to take in a newer style. They don't have that rough around the edges, rustic grunge, post-grunge sound that I really love. They're trying to use more of the recent style of contemporary rock or progressive rock. It's still a good song, don't get me wrong.
In dreams we escape to a world unbroken, and those whom we hate will become awoken, and some I hope will die as martyrs, and most Orion souls will end in slaughter. But don't feel afraid.
Most ovine souls will end in slaughter. Bovine souls relating to us resembling sheep. Ah, the sheep will be slaughtered. Very typical Seether. Not bad. Not a bad song at all. This guy's, I can recommend, here's a song recommendation. Long Black Train by Josh Turner. I think I know this song. Oh, I know this song. Oh man, I used to listen to this song when I lived in California. Actually, no. No, after California.
There's a long black train coming down the line, feeding off the souls that are lost and crying. Rails of sin, only evil remains. Watch out, brother, for that long black train.
I'm amazed this song has almost 10 million views.
Look to the heavens, you can look to the skies. You can find redemption staring back into your eyes. There is protection and there's peace the same. Burning your ticket for that long black train. 'Cause there's victory in the Lord.
This is a very popular song I remember back in the day. Very popular song. Shattered by Level. All right, let's give this a listen. very much like Limp Bizkit.
Just to being lonely. It's better if I never know who's been there before me. No way. Now that I've seen the bitter truth, that's why covering up each and every little thing.
Oh, this is like Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit. This is a call back to the older style of music. I can see why it only has 13,000 views, because this kind of music, I like it, but I think this kind of music is sort of outdated. I like it. I think it's great, but for a lot of people, it's not that cool.
You should take it all back now. My path of least resistance always winds around but never goes straight through. I've seen enough of the pieces shatter. I've seen enough of the naked truth. And there's only one day that this will matter. When we're flying off of the face of the earth. Face of the earth.
This is really good. I like this a lot.
I've never seen a miracle happen so.
Guys, I gotta spice up this stream. I gotta. You know what? I think I'm gonna smoke a little bit of pipe. What do you guys think? I think I'm gonna smoke a little bit of pipe. One second, guys. I'm looking for it. I'm gonna play some music for you guys.
It's pitiful how critical it is to you to show me how much you know me. I'm tired of pretending to. Now you're living with it. Now you're living with it. You're forgiven and I'm past all that now. Excuses never ending. They'll come back around and haunt your every move. I've seen enough of the pieces
All right, guys. Got my here. I got here my little Gandalf pipe from the Lord of the Rings. Gonna about to smoke some Old Toby. My Gandalf pipe. About to smoke some of this hash. Let's play some music here. I want to play a song as I smoke. But let's play a song. Let's play this song from Sinead O'Connor called "The Edge," or called "Heroin." This is a wonderful piece of music. Oh my gosh. I used to hear this song back in the 90s when I was growing up. My parents used to listen to some of this kind of music. Let's give this a listen here. The finest weed in the South. I think, yeah, there we go. So as far as tobacco goes, we have a mix. I like to have a little mixture of light and powerful tobaccos. That way the nicotine gets a little bit tempered. So we have some Golden Virginia mixed with Kentucky Burley, which is a very high nicotine American tobacco. Let's pack the whatever this thing is called. Let's pack this thing up. And nicotine is a different experience than alcohol because nicotine, you see, alcohol makes you very loose. I think nicotine kind of expands your mind a little bit more than alcohol does. And the thing about nicotine is that it doesn't get you tired like alcohol does. Alcohol will make you very tired. So let's, we have a good draw. Let's smoke this. And then we are going to listen to some music as I smoke. Let's listen to Sinead O'Connor, Heroin, which is a beautiful song. Let's give this a listen, everybody.
Afraid, but you will not run alone. Thy will be done. Confessed, but you still feel the shame. Bring me into your arms again. taste the rain. Fall tonight into my arms again. The night is long, but the day will come with promises for the chosen one. Salt the sea, sweet taste the rain. Fall tonight into the light of
No, that's really good music, guys. I love that song. It's a beautiful song. I think it's talking about Joan of Arc. Are you married? Yes, I actually am. My wife is my YouTube channel. And every time I neglect this YouTube channel, I feel very bad. I always keep coming back. But to be totally serious, no, I'm not married. No, I am not married at all. Is a huge loss for the entire world. There was a... I'm in an Irish mood because I've been playing a lot of Bannerlord, and there's a lot of Irish music in Bannerlord. Oh, it's such a good game, guys. Such an amazing video game. I want to show you guys this song. It's called Harry's Game by Clannad. See, back in the 90s, my father had a hot dog cart next to a record store. So a lot of times after school we'd go to the hot dog cart, and my dad would manage it, make sure the employees were doing their job. And instead of doing my homework, I'd go to the record store. I'd go to the record shop. And I remember I would spend hours walking around this record shop, listening to albums and all that stuff. Am I still playing Medieval 2? Right now I'm just playing Bannerlord, so I haven't played Medieval 2 in a while. But man, Bannerlord, it's such a beautiful game. It's called Blade and Shield 2, something like that. Just look up Bannerlord. It's such an amazing game. But I remember after school going to this record shop, and I would just spend hours there, mainly listening to Kid Rock. Man, this thing keeps going out. Why does it keep going out so damn much? So, I would eat hot dogs, of course. But I would listen to music a lot. And my dad would buy these albums. So after closing the cart for the night, closing shop, my dad would go to the record shop and we would look around and listen to different albums and things like that. And my dad bought this album. My dad bought several albums that were really, really good and that I still listen to today. One of them is called Celtic Moods. Another one was called Celtic Odyssey, and then there was another album called World Voices. Now, these three albums were absolute, just they were masterful compilations of music. Absolute masterful compilations of music from Ireland and different parts of Europe. Now, when it came to the two Celtic albums, Celtic Moods and Celtic Odyssey, all those songs were Irish, obviously, but the World Voices album had a song from Germany, it had one from Spain, it had music from Russia, Mongolia. It was just... It was an amazing piece of music. Hold on a second, guys. I'm gonna get an ashtray. Hold on one second. So anyway, these were amazing pieces of music, and I still listen to these albums to this day. They're just wonderful. So I'm going to play you guys some songs from these old albums. The song I played for you before from Sinead O'Connor, that was one of the songs on the album. I want to say it was from Celtic Moods. Pretty certain it was from Celtic Moods. So I'm going to refill up my pipe here. And get this ball rolling, so to speak. Not that kind of ball, different kind of ball. Ball for the pipe. All right, here we go. So, a lot of all of these songs are from the late 90s. Late 90s, or at least some of them maybe are from the early 2000s. So this one is called Theme from Harry's Game by Clannad. This is a classic from the late 90s. I used to listen to this song growing up. This was on I'm pretty certain this was in the Celtic Moods album that my dad bought from the record shop. Let's give this a listen. I swear, one of the best bands ever, Clannad. Very good band. I used to listen to them a lot growing up. And when you listen to this song, it immediately evokes imagery of misty Ireland, green fields, the Middle Ages. There's something very mysterious about it and something very just looming about it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just very good music. Now that's a good piece of music. It just brings imagery of, like I said, misty Ireland, green fields. Theo Baggins, that's a good one. I want to show you guys some more music. So this is another song. This is from the Celtic Moods album. This is it's called Samhain Nights. Oh my gosh, this song is good. By Lorena McKennitt. Oh my god, I grew up listening to this, and such a wonderful piece of music. Let's listen to this one. This is I give this song. It's unrateable to me. I can't even give it a rating. It's so good. Let's give this a listen.
When the moon on a cloud-cast night shine above the treetops height, you sang me out some distant past that made my heart beat strong and fast. Now I know I'm home at last. You offered me an eagle's wing.
See, as soon as you listen to this music, where does your mind go? See, that's how I judge if a song is beautiful or not. It has to take my mind on a journey. If there's no journey, then I don't really listen to it. This music, as soon as you hear it, where are you? Where are you? You're in the Shire. You're in Lord of the Rings. You're in Braveheart. You're in Joan of Arc. You're in misty green fields, and you just met Merlin. I mean, it just takes your mind on a journey. King Arthur. It takes your mind on a journey.
But to the side
just her voice, the emotion that she's expressing, and that she speaks underneath her breath. It's so good.
Not a simple thing, nor are truths unwavering, like the moon's pull on the tide. Our fingers touch, our hearts collide. I'll be your moon's breath from your side. I'll be your moon's breath from your side. I'll be your moon's breath from your side.
You can't beat that. No, you just can't beat that. Oh, there was another one. Let me see if I can find it. There was another one from Celtic, not Celtic Moods. That's really good. Let me see if I can find it. Hold up. Did I ever play? Do you guys remember Sleepy Maggie? So Mr. JCH says that you speak a little bit of Gaelic. Very cool. And that you know the singer's sister, the singer from Clannad, the sister of the singer from Clannad. Very cool. Makes you think of the Druids, yeah. And Julius Caesar coming into Gaul, absolutely. Cognac takes better, absolutely. I think it's time to refill my bowl. Do you guys remember Sleepy Maggie? The song Sleepy Maggie? Oh, you guys remember that? It's a brilliant song from Celtic Moods. I'll play it. This was a classic back in the day. Absolutely just masterpiece, piece of music. When it begins, it just screams late 90s. That guitar in the back, that sort of electronic sound in the middle.
voelen, dus ze voelen nu. En niet te kijken, ik ze voelen toehouden. Ik niet te kijken, ik ze voelen, dus ze voelen nu. En niet te kijken, ik ze voelen toehouden. Moeten doen voor de mannen, moeten doen voor de mannen, moeten doen voor de mensen, dat kost alle kans. Moeten doen voor de mannen, moeten doen voor de mannen, moeten doen voor de mensen, dat kost alle kans. Vrouwen brengen door, ja, ze voelen, dus ze voelen nu. Vrouwen brengen door, ja, ze voelen toehouden. Vrouwen brengen door, ja, ze voelen, dus ze voelen nu. Vrouwen brengen door, ja, ze voelen toehouden. Moeten doen voor de mannen, moeten doen voor de mannen, moeten doen voor de mensen, dat kost alle kans. Moeten doen voor de mannen, moeten doen voor de mannen, moeten doen voor de mensen, dat kost alle kans. Dansen,
So, I think the next book I'm going to read is on the Irish potato famine. I have a book on that. I haven't started reading it. But it's about how the Irish potato famine happened and how the British made things worse for the Irish and then deliberately wanted people to be killed, deliberately just let the Irish starve to death, and 1 million Irish people starve to death. But speaking of the Irish, the Irish, from my experiences with them, I'm talking about people from Ireland, not people who live in Boston. But in my experience, the Irish are, I think they're good people from my experience with them. I think they're better than the English. I knew this Irish girl years ago. She was a fascinating person. We started talking online, and she was a pro-life, anti-gay marriage activist in Ireland. She was a Catholic, very strong traditional Catholic, and she was fighting against the push for homosexuality in Ireland. The homosexual agenda in Ireland. And I remember we started talking, and she says, "Ted, I really love your videos." This was back in the day when shootbot.com had back in the day, we had an audience. We were getting millions of views. A lot of people were reading our material. A lot of people in America, the UK, different parts of Europe were looking. Even people in China were actually looking at our stuff. And she told me that she really loved my videos. And one day she contacted me and she said, "Ted," she said, "I just trolled a whole bunch of Irish people using your video." I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "I did this event. I organized this event and I rented out, I think she rented out this pub to do a an event for community organizers and activists to come together. And these were, and she even, I think she told me that she brought in some local politicians or some local holders of office, whatever they call them, to this event. And she said that I did several presentations in the event that were harmless, that weren't going to anger anybody. So everyone's sitting there, they're seeing all these presentations about some subjects, whatever they were. And then she said, I have one more video that I want to present to you. And she said, I had you on the big projector. And she said, I took your video from YouTube where you're screaming against the Sodomites. And I played it on the projector. She said, a little tobacco in my mouth. She said that people were getting up and were leaving. And she said, I got a call from this lady who was the owner of the place that she used for this event. The owner, I think it was a pub or some kind of a gathering hole. And she said, I recorded the whole conversation. Do you want to hear it? So I listened to it. And you hear these two Irish women just screaming at each other. Not really screaming, but they're cursing at each other. And this woman is so pissed at this activist. And she was saying, you fucking cunt. I mean, you fucking cunt playing this stuff in my building. In my building. She said, you're angering a lot of people. I think her name was Madeline. Madeline, you're angering a lot of people. What you did, you angered a lot of people. And this activist, this pro-life Catholic activist said, what people? The fucking Sodomites. I was laughing so hard listening to this. I couldn't believe my video was played in some random place in some random town somewhere in Ireland. It was amazing. It was an amazing, those years of my life from 2000 and I want to say really from 2013 all the way up until I want to say 2019. I mean, so far those have been the best years of my life. I met so many interesting people online. I did various documentaries. And people in Ireland were hearing my stuff. It was amazing. It was so amazing. The world was a different place. It was a different place, guys. It was a different place. So not too long after this, I went to church, as I always did on Sundays. And I see this unfamiliar face in the church. It's a guy, and he's with his girlfriend. He's with his girl, so I'm assuming it's his girlfriend. Could be his, I don't know, could be his cousin, but I'm guessing that's his girlfriend. And I had never seen that person before. And he didn't look American. Young guy in his 20s, but he didn't look American. So I'm thinking, who is this guy? I've never seen him before. Whatever. So we do the mass and we take communion and all that. And then after we're taking communion, right? So we're waiting in line. No, was it? No, I think it was after the mass. It was after the mass. And I'm in the back of the church room. And this guy walks up to me. He's walking up to me. What's going on? What does he want to say? He walks up to me and he says in this thick Irish accent, he says, I really like your videos. And I said, what? He goes, I really like your videos. He says, you're friends with Madeline? And I said, oh, yes, sir. He goes, I'm visiting America, but I'm friends with Madeline. He says, she showed me your work. I really like it. So it just warmed my heart. I'm going to say it. It warmed my heart to know that in Ireland, people learned about the term sodomite because of me. It warms my heart every day. So I don't know. I've never had an issue with Irish people. But it was an amazing experience. It really was. It's an amazing experience to be able to connect with people like that. And the fact that we all share one faith in Jesus Christ and we're all united in this cause against evil. There's nothing in the world like it. There really is nothing in the world like it, guys. There's nothing like it. Nothing. You can't beat it. There's nothing more exhilarating. There's nothing more elating than the feeling of fighting for a cause. And sometimes you're scared to make that initial step to fight for the cause. But when you make that step, then there's really no going back. You can't go back, guys. And sometimes I've tried to avoid confrontation. In fact, I will confess, many times I have tried to avoid confrontation. Many times I have avoided tension. But once you make that step, and all it takes is 5 seconds of courage, you never want to step out. You never want to step back out. It really is amazing. Now I want to play you guys another song from the Celtic Moods album from 1997. This song is called Ride On by Christy Moore. This was a big hit coming out of Ireland. Amazing piece of music. And Christy Moore is a phenomenal musician from Ireland. So I'm going to give this guy a listen. This song is absolutely gorgeous. Let's hear this.
Through you ride the finest horse I've ever seen, standing 16, 1 or 2, with eyes wild and green. You ride the horse so well, hands light to the touch. I could never go with you no matter how I wanted to. Ride on, see you. I could never go with you no matter how I wanted to. Ride on, see you. I could never go with you no matter how I wanted to. When you ride into the night without a trace behind, run your claw along my gut one last time. I turn to face an empty space where you used to lie, and look for the spark that lights the night through a teardrop in my eye. Ride on, see you. I could never go with you no matter how I wanted to. Ride on, see you. I could never go with you no matter how I wanted to.
That's a great piece of music. Now, I want to show you guys some music from the World Voices album. This album, you can't find it on YouTube, but you can find it on Amazon. It's called World Voices. It came out in 1998. Guys, this is one of the greatest albums ever put together. If you like really deep, rich music, you're going to love World Voices. I'm serious. You're going to love World Voices. Let me show you guys probably the best piece of music from World Voices. It's a piece of music that was composed by what's her name? Von Bingen, the saint. Saint Hildegard von Bingen. The name of the song is called O Successoris Fortissimi Leonis. Oh, the lion who rises up to the throne. It's a song about Jesus Christ. Guys, this is... I'm about to play for you guys a masterpiece, all right? Here we go. Let's give this a listen. This song came out in the late 90s, by the way. So it starts out like an old school video game, like an old school computer game where you're a knight and you're fighting against the dragon. Yeah, you get that video game vibe when you listen to this, right? You're playing, I don't know, RuneScape or something. It's coming off really creepy. It's coming off really creepy. I'm just imagining this in a movie, late 1990s film. It has a sort of atmosphere that you would see in the film The Messenger, which is a movie about Joan of Arc, which was a beautifully, I mean, presentation-wise, visually-wise, it's a beautiful-looking movie. And I'm just seeing men with very thick armor. They're riding on horses. They're fighting a dragon or some kind of a giant demon creature. It stops, right? And now we're going to enter into this medieval style of music, which is really deep and sublime. And there's this, it's not really music, but there's this sort of atmospheric sound. There's this sort of ambience that's being played in the undertone of the song. It's not in front of your face. It's not coming straight at you. It's not in your face. It's not explicit, but it's there and you could hear it, and its presence is resounding in the room. This beautiful voice comes and she's saying, and I'm going to read to you guys the lyrics. This is a song about the victorious Christ, the victorious Jesus, the Messiah. O successors, fortissimi leones, O successors of the mighty lion, inter templum et altare, between the temple and the altar. I mean, you can't beat this. O successors of the mighty lion, between the temple and the altar, commanding in his service, dominantes in ministritone eos, commanding in his service, sicut angeli sonant in laudibus, as angels sing in praise resounding, and quicken to defend the people, et sicut assunt populis. With their aid, sow you among them, as they do these things. Keep ever carefully the office of the Lamb. You can't beat this. You just can't beat this. O successors of the mighty lion, between the temple and the altar. You get goosebumps listening to this. And I remember listening to this song as a kid in the late 90s. It was always haunting. It was always a haunting sound for me. Drums come in. Damn, I wish the Catholic Church was like this. What happened? What happened? Now it used to be so cool. Like the Catholic Church used to be so cool. It's like knights and horses and monks and monastic chant, Ambrosian chant, Gregorian chant, and then what? It became a den of perverts and sodomites and freaks. What happened? It's just so depressing when I listen to this music. What happened? good music. There are many Celtic saints, including St. Patrick, who are considered saints in Orthodox. That's correct, yeah. Anything before the split is part of the Orthodox world. It's messed up. There is still grace in the church sacraments. I know it. It's just, I don't know. It's just a shell of its former self, the Catholic Church. I don't know. It used to be so cool. There was a song called Hermitage in the World Voices soundtrack, World Voices album from 1998. It's a song. It's actually a mixture between. It's the name of the song is called Hermitage. It's actually a mixture of music between Tibet and Estonia. So they really made a nice fusion there. Let me see if I can find Hermitage. The guy who put the music together, he's a Scandinavian guy named Sven Grunberg. I don't want to play it. It's a weird song from Tibet. I'll keep it Catholic. But it's just a beautiful piece of music, guys. I just love it. Brings almost tears to my eyes when I listen to it. I have to keep myself from not getting wrapped up with this music because it's awe-inspiring. You know, and then you read the Old Testament and the Son of God is there and he's a knight and he's leading the Hebrews into victory in the battle over Jericho. And there's that beautiful story in the book of Joshua where Joshua is near Jericho and he sees a man floating in the air with a sword in his hand. And Joshua looks up and he says, "Are you with us or are you with them?" And Jesus, this is Jesus, the Son of God, the angel that God says, "I put my name into him." And this man looks down on Joshua and he says, "No." He says, "I have come to bring victory to the army of the Lord." And Joshua says, well, he says something to him. And then the person looks at Joshua and says, "Take your sandals off for you stand on holy ground." I mean, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. And what was the whole war with the Canaanites? What was that about? What was the war with the Canaanites? If you look into the Old Testament, it gives you a list of crimes before the children of Israel go into Canaan. And the Bible gives you a list of crimes. God gives the children of Israel through the mouth of Moses a list of crimes. Don't murder. Don't commit human sacrifice. Don't get into homosexuality. Don't get into bestiality. Don't get into any of this wickedness. And then Moses says, well, God through Moses says, "For these are the crimes that the people who you are about to conquer do." And so the war between the Canaanites and the Hebrews, it wasn't really a tribal war. It was a war between good and evil. And that's what Christianity is. Christianity is about fighting a war between good and evil. That's what it is. What else is there? It is finding strength in God to fight evil. That's what Christianity is. That's what it is. You're supposed to listen to Lamia Mariam Matram. All right, I'll give this a listen. Yeah, I love this. Yeah, I know this tune. I haven't heard this rendition of this tune, but I know this tune. Da 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 da. I think this is from I don't remember the composer, but this is an Italian composer, I believe, from the late medieval period. But I'm familiar with this piece of music. I love the aesthetic. This is really good. Oh, this is good. This is really good. To save this one. It's 8 minutes, but it's just really good. I love it. Yeah, this is a really good piece of music. Lorena in concert a few months ago. Oh, you saw Lorena McKenna? Really? Wow, yeah, she's on the album of Celtic Moods. She's really good. They worshipped animal spirits instead of God, like the children of Adam. Yeah, they were into worship of the nature. They worshipped nature. They worshipped the stars and the planets and all that. Da 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 da. We are all fallen from grace. All right, guys, I think I'm done. I've been here for almost 4 hours, so yeah, they were human and they were heathens. They were evil pagans. Let's just be real here. All right, guys, I'm gonna get going. I have some stuff I need to do, and it was really great talking to you guys, and hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope you guys have a great weekend. You guys just heard some theology. God bless.